theboxingvoice.com.
You walk away with a silver medal, which is an incredible accomplishment. Can you take any pride in that?
I don't like to lose.
Now it's like I know what feeling I don't want to ever go through. He was talking about you crying and like, you go watch Floyd. Floyd was crying after he lost. I don't ever want to feel that again. I don't want to ever lose. Like I'm not cool with losing.
This is a TKO victory for Crawford-Stevenson.
He's tough. He don't take no for an answer, so I gotta beat it out of him. Score? Of course he's the truth.
TFemo not messing with him. I don't think Tank messing with him. Eric Russell Jr. ain't messing with him.
Me right now, if you ask me, would I beat Floyd Mayweather back in the day? I'm gonna say yes. And truthfully, really believe that.
I know my body. Yeah, I know Shakur body. Shakur know my body. Do I step to you when we sport? Yes or no?
No.
Do we step to each other? Yes or no?
No.
The southpaw version of Floyd Mayweather.
Oscar can't keep ducking. It's time for him to fight. It's me versus Oscar Valdez. There's nothing else to look forward to. Canelo can't get in the ring fight for him. And even if he could, I feel like me and Canelo's at the same weight. I feel like I'll beat him.
SDS Promotions.
I'm one of the best fighters in boxing.
He is the fighting pride of Omaha, Nebraska.
He's good at what he do.
Hey, Daddy.
Undefeated WBO lightweight champion of the world.
Hey, Daddy.
BoxingVoice.com.
Taking, any credit away from Errol, he's a great fighter. He's good at what he do. But
BoxingVoice.com.
when you compare him to Terrence Crawford, there's no comparison.
It's a dollar beat.
I'm just a better fighter.
BoxingVoice.com.
Sit back and watch this. I promise you something. I promise you something. All that shit you talking don't mean nothing.
Don't mean nothing.
I can pull my guns at you, you can pull your guns at me, but at the end of the day, them two brothers got to get in the ring.
Hey, Daddy, it's a
BoxingVoice.com.
dollar beat.
We've been here before. You try to get there. Alright? I can tell you how it is to be undisputed. You can't tell me shit.
This a dollar. Hey, Daddy.
Y'all support y'all fighter. Let's come together, make this event a success.
BoxingVoice.com.
Everything about Terrence Crawford is better than Errol Spence Jr.
BoxingVoice.com. BoxingVoice.com.
Boxing fans, are you ready?
Hey, Daddy.
BoxingVoice.com. BoxingVoice.com. BoxingVoice.com.
What up? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Boxing Voice Radio. I am your host, Nesta Gibbs. Solo Dolo Scarface without Manolo. According to the producer, we should be joined alongside Dan Rayfield. And as you can see from the thumbnail, that's why we have all these faces on the thumbnail, because we'll be getting his expert opinion. On Twitter, just want to let you guys know what's going on, as they don't allow as many characters as on YouTube. So we will be talking to Dan Rayfield about Crawford-Spence 2, Benavidez-Andrade Haney-Stevenson Prograis, Tim Bradley on Floyd Mayweather, and obviously Joshua Helenius. So these are the topics that we will be discussing with longtime writer and journalist of the sport, Dan Rayfield, formerly of ESPN. Now has his Fight Freaks on and popping on Substack and doing his thing without a doubt. And we're very happy he'll be joining us a little bit later here in the show. But this is what we will be discussing. So if you want to send in any questions for Dan, I'm not sure if our producer made a post for him, but you can send those obviously via Super Chat. Until then, we can discuss some boxing before the expert shows up to give us that expert opinion. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and smash the thumbs up as we are trying to get to that next goal of 1 million. That's the ultimate goal. Right now, we're just trying to get to 179,000. We're at 178,367 subscribers. So we're almost at 179,000, but we're nowhere near our 1 million subscriber goal. So go ahead and tell a friend that we're rocking out right here on TBV. Bluetooth, Twitter, let me know if everything is good. Let me get a hand raise in there. To my man, Rich Homie Quan, I see you. And it's okay. Amato, what up? Always sending me stuff on Facebook. Salute. Go ahead and retweet the space. Let's get some people on there. Let them know, like Crawford says, get active. You feel me? Let them know we out here. You know the number to call in, 1-425-569-5241. Stay Wavy TV. I see you. Ronnie Reyes, I see you. Salute to everybody on our YouTube right here, youtube.com/The Boxing Voice. I hope you've already subscribed. Yeah, man, so I definitely want you guys to help me remember. There's a lot to talk about with Dan, right? So ultimately, we want to know, we want to compare Crawford and his situation with Jaron Ennis as the mandatory to Devin, the undisputed champ, and his situation to Shakur as a mandatory. Then we want to also discuss what's next for Crawford. Is it the rematch with Earl? Is that going to be 54? Is it going to be Tim Tszyu now that Charlo will be stripped? Would he really give Jaron Boots Ennis a shot? Expert opinion from Dan Rayfield. Then we'll move on to Haney Shakur, Haney Prograis, and the fact that Bill Haney slipped up today and said it's a pay-per-view. What's the expert's opinion? What's his pay-per-view prediction, right? Then we want to talk the other pay-per-view that we're speaking of, or it's rumored, Benavidez versus Andrade. His thoughts on the fight. He released the pay-per-view numbers that no one knew about for the Plant and Benavidez fight. I want to get his opinion on that. Did he think those numbers were solid coming in at 175? Then we want to talk Tim Bradley's thoughts on Floyd Mayweather losing to Terrence Crawford. Have they ever fought, in an era where they could meet, right? Then we want to talk the late-minute replacement, that is Anthony Joshua taking on Roberto Helenius, that was previously knocked out to Deontay Wilder. Common opponent with Deontay Wilder, someone that we want him to face in December. Is it promotion? The selection of opponent? These are some of the things that we want to talk to good old Dan Rayfield now. It looks like our producer scheduled him a whole half an hour later, so we still got another 17 minutes before we could get him on. So feel free to go ahead and call in. Maybe give me some things we should ask about. I see my good friend Intrigue all the way in Africa saying, let's talk Thurman Crawford with Dan. And I guess we could ask Dan, is that possible and how possible? Especially when we bring up Boots, right? Is he willing to fight Boots? And if he's not, or if he is, does that mean that he'll also be willing to fight Keith One-Time Thurman, right? Keith One-Time Thurman will probably do better numbers. But I could be wrong because Boots seems to be more popular on social media. He's younger, which, if you're going to sell pay-per-views these days, you got to be savvy on social media. And this younger generation has that. He definitely has the boogeyman aura to him, Boots does. So maybe that'll help sell tickets. People actually believing he can beat Terrence Crawford. But again, we're just waiting here to be joined by Dan Rayfield, formerly of ESPN, so we can ask the expert that is Dan some of these questions on all these topics that we brought up. So for anybody just joining us, we're just waiting for Dan Rayfield to join us, and we will be discussing Crawford-Spence 2. We will be comparing Crawford, the undisputed champ, with his mandatory Jerome Boots Ennis. And does Ennis deserve 25% or more for a shot at undisputed in comparison to Devin, the undisputed champ, and Shakur situation? Then we want to talk Devin and Prograis with Dan, since it was broken on our earlier show that that's going to be a pay-per-view. You heard that here first on our earlier show. Devin and Regis Prograis will be DAZN's second ever fighter on pay-per-view, because Ryan was not even a co-broadcast. The lead broadcast was Showtime, and all that they could do was sell the pay-per-view on DAZN. This will be the only fighter second to Canelo to actually do a pay-per-view on DAZN. So it would be to get the expert opinion of Dan Rayfield on that. Maybe his pay-per-view buys. Maybe does he think it's a good idea? So we want to remember to ask him that. Obviously, we want to remember to ask him about the Hellenius last-minute replacement. Yeah, that slipped up for Bill. You know, hey, you win some, you lose some. You know, he slipped up, and now we get to run with that. We get to have broken some news, so you know that's a good thing. In a strange way, but again, yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. So we are going a bit different pace, as we do have to wait for the guests, because this particular episode is kind of tailored around having Dan Rayfield, our resident expert, on the show to ask him these questions. But the producer, if you're listening, we could do with a poll to keep the crowd engaged, right? Like one of my questions, obviously, is how realistic is Tim Tszyu? You know, how realistic is Tim Tszyu? And now that, you know, we've spoken to Team Crawford, they said they're not going to Australia. How realistic is Tim Tszyu to come to Nebraska? So that's another good question. So we got about 13 minutes before we'll be joined. Remember, we're on Discord and Twitter Spaces. Feel free to call in and give me your opinion on either of these topics, as, you know, your opinion is just as good. Outside of that, Dan is an expert in what he does. He's been in this business for a very long time. And that's why we want to have him on the show, to get his opinion on these topics. Yeah, I mean, we do got a great year of boxing. Great year of boxing. Cannot complain at all. It's a great year of boxing. See, Soldier, I don't get it. What kind of problems are you having? Because I'm looking A-OK on this side. But yeah, phone lines are open, so you know, if anybody wants to call in the meantime, while we do wait for Dan, the man, we can do that. Once again, we will be talking with Dan about Crawford-Spence, Crawford, Tim Tszyu, Crawford Boots, then comparing that Crawford Boots situation to the Devin Haney Shakur situation, talking that, while trying not to forget to also talk Devin Haney and Regis Prograis being at the DAZN pay-per-view, and then flipping to Benavidez-Andrade that is also rumored to be pay-per-view, and then, you know, finishing off with Tim Bradley on Mayweather, saying Mayweather would have lost to Crawford, and AJ getting the common opponent in Hellenius with Wilder for his late-minute replacement. So yeah, I kind of feel like it doesn't make sense to go to callers right now because you're gonna want to say something after Dan gets on, but we also want to keep the show moving, right? We booked them for 6:30. Did he say 6:30? Hold on, or 4:30? Let me check. Okay. But six. I mean, let me find out what. All right, so we definitely gonna take some calls. Ronnie in Phoenix, what up?
What's going on? What are they doing, man?
Chilling.
I think the pay-per-views, man, on both of these, I don't know how good they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? I like 3 of the 4 fighters fighting. I like Devin. I like Regis. I like David. I'm not a big fan of Doodoo, but I give Boo his props overall. I don't mean to disrespect him. I give him his props because it seems like he's been willing to fight anybody, and he just hasn't had his opportunity to really get up there. I know he's kind of shot himself in the foot with who he was signed with at the time. But I don't think these pay-per-views are going to do that good, bro, on either one of them. Caleb Plant and Benavidez, I thought it was going to do better than what it did, but I guess 175 is not too bad considering that Dev and Lomachenko seemed like a big fight, you know what I'm saying? And they did, 150, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Boots Ennis, bro. I put a comment earlier when you were talking about that. I don't want to disrespect any boxer, bro, because with the eye test, Boots Ennis passes every eye test, I think, from anybody that's watched him fight. Even down to the one when they're like, damn, that dude fucking, he could have cut the ring off all night. He still fucking won almost. I think he won every round of that fight, bro. So he's passed all the eye tests. He's done everything he's got to do. But when it comes to those percentages, bro, it's just hard for me to speak on it. Like that's your guys' job. You and Danny, you guys are on the business side of it, bro. I'm a boxing fanatic, but I've never been into the business side of it like that, bro. So purses and shit like that, I just don't know what he's made so far. I know he's not a 2-weight division champion like Shakur, and I know he's not a unified champion like Shakur. So I wouldn't put him on the same scale as Shakur when it comes to pay right now. I know he's a bigger weight class, and welterweights it's the glamour division. But that's just my opinion on it. I think that was what we were talking about, right? What else was there?
Well, we just got a new video from Regis claiming that he signed his side of the contract 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and screen share that and
bitches. Y'all scared of me. Y'all don't want me to get ready. That's what y'all don't want to do, but I'm already getting ready. So I signed the contract for the date already. The date is already in the
Let me rewind this.
Man, they got some pussy in this fight game right now. So me and Haney supposed to fight, right? We agreed on date. We agreed on everything. And now they trying to move the date and stuff like that. The Haneys, I know y'all smart, but y'all some smart bitches at the same time. Y'all pulling some dirty shit, bro. Y'all trying to pull, not dirty, y'all trying to pull some slick shit, but we ain't going for that. We already agreed to the date. That's what it is. We agreed to the date already. Why y'all can't go on the same date? We agree. I signed the contract. What else you want? What more y'all want? Come on, man. Y'all some bitches, dog. The Haney's some bitches. Y'all scared of me. Y'all don't want me to get ready. That's what y'all don't want to do, but I'm already getting ready. So I signed the contract for the date already. The date is already in the contract. Y'all can't move it. And nigga, you ain't no big draw. I don't need you. So if you don't want to fight, go fight somebody else. Go do what you want. Go stay at 35 and do whatever you got to do. But nigga, the date is the date, and I'm standing on that. Man, they got some pussy in this fight game right now.
Now, I don't know about I don't need you. I don't know about I don't need you, because the best he going to get is Top Rank going to offer him a unification where he going to have to split with Matchroom and Top Rank. Like, I don't really know what else is out there. Richardson Hitchens, like, he actually do need Haney. But I'll be talking that with Dan for sure. But Ronnie, what's your thoughts? What options you think is out there for Regis?
I mean, he's with Matt with Eddie, right?
Yeah.
So I think his other options is what shit. He don't really have a lot of options, bro. He's got to really right now. He's kind of stuck in a hard place in the rock, bro.
Is Sandor Martin still with Matchroom? Because I don't think so. I seen him fighting on some card in España somewhere the other day. I swear to God, I'm not lying. He literally had a tune-up the
I
other
looked
day.
it up. I didn't see
He
it.
actually got a knockout the other day on a tune-up.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't. I tried to look it up the day I heard you say it on.
He
on
wasn't even a
one of the
favorite to
podcasts.
get the knockout either. Shout out to Trav, man. That motherfucker be killing him.
Hey, real quick, Ness, before I go, I don't know if you listen to the Sean Porter podcast, the Porter Way, but he
Nah,
had Bud on there
somebody
earlier
sent me a
interviewing
link.
him.
Somebody sent me a link that he had Bud, and that Bud said he got one more fight or 3 more fights. And I'm like, bro, send me the timestamp, like, cause people be sending me shit, and then he like, yo, Bud said he got 3 more fights. I'm like, damn, 3, that's a lot. That's what's up. And he like, well, he really said he want Charlo, then he'll retire. I'm like, damn, bro, just send me the link, cause when I clicked it, that shit was a fucking hour. So it's like, bro, I be having to take a nap in between shows because I wake up so early.
They only had Bud on for like 20 minutes, though. I think maybe 20, 25 minutes. He talked a little extra afterwards, but I think they originally scheduled him for 20 minutes. I don't have the timestamps either, bro, because when I'm watching it, I'm usually at work, so the phone's in my pocket when I'm listening to it.
Nah, for sure.
But,
I find it. I mean, I obviously got to listen to that shit. I keep getting people to send it to me, so.
But he wasn't talking about going to fight Zoo. He was talking about Charlo coming back and getting his bout back. Then they can fight.
Yeah, they crazy.
He made it sound like be Spence and then Charlo, and then he's done. But that's my call, Ness. Thank you, man, for rocking out, brother. I'll be listening.
You already know. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir, brother. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up.
All right, so we got about 4 minutes before we get Dan the Man, formerly of ESPN. And we plan on asking him a multitude of questions here. Not a multitude. Truthfully, it's a couple, maybe 5 or 9. I think I counted it's about 9, right? Let me double check here. We want to touch on Crawford and Spence, just the event. Then part 2, does he believe it'll happen? If so, welterweight, 54, right? Before we leave the Crawford conversation, we need to touch on Jaron Ennis as the mandatory. Does he think that will happen? Then I want to have him compare that to the undisputed Devin Haney and Shakur situation. After that, we're going to mix it up and have him give his thoughts on Bill confirming it's a pay-per-view. So that's another thing. Like, if we just know, I just don't be getting these fighters. It's like, bro, this is your first pay-per-view ever. Like, for real, though. Like, if you got to push the date back because there's so many pay-per-views this year for it to make a little bit of sense, you go ahead and do that. But you got to build the fight, too. He got to make people believe Haney's scared. So then y'all pay to see Haney lose, Then what else we got? We got to talk with Dan the Man about Haney Prograis. We done with that. We move on to, that's one that I didn't have on the docket. We do got to talk Shakur, Loma retiring. Who Shakur going to end up fighting? I promise you, if he end up fighting Jermaine Ortiz for that belt, right? Because let me show y'all while we give Dan these last 2 minutes. Let me show you this. I was eating lunch, and I'm like, man, if this happens, this is the saddest thing. This would be the saddest thing over a percentage if this is how you end up winning these belts. We're talking about 135, right? So I'm going to screen share this whole thing here. You see everybody. Let me move myself. Poof, be gone. Got it. All right. Actually, let me bring that back for entertainment purposes and slide myself over here. Because we really discussing just the WBC, and this is what we'll talk to Dan about. You don't let me forget it, as this is an interactive show, right? So Devin is now named champion in recess. Next up, Vasil. He calling retirement. We seen Shakur tweets this morning. He calling retirement. Shakur calling him pussy. Shakur's number 2. Isaac number 3, but who's he with? PBC. Who? PBC. What? PBC. Is he really going to fight? I don't know. Are they going to let him fight for the vacant, or are they going to save him for a Tank pay-per-view? Tank pay-per-view? What? Tank pay-per-view. Okay. I heard that. William Cepeda with Golden Boy, one of the last Mohicans. What do you mean last Mohicans? One of the last stars over there. Everything else is fizzling out. What is Virgil these days? We don't know. Ryan Laws. I mean, do they really want to serve up Cepeda? It's a world title shot, though. Maybe they roll the dice. No, they won't. No, they won't. No, they won't. Let me Google this right here for you, just so you can see that he already has some fight scheduled with somebody that like he shouldn't even be fighting. But that's Dan the man, so we're gonna go ahead and change the screen up. Add him. Bam. Dan, Mr. Rayfield, how are you?
What's going on?
I appreciate you taking out the time to come in, man. I got a couple of hot button topics I would like to discuss with you, and we'll get you in and out.
Not a
Obviously,
problem. You know, I know we tried to do this a couple times before, and we got all mixed up in the time, so I'm glad we could get it squared away. I'm happy to join you guys.
Nah, appreciate it. So I want to start with just your overall thoughts on the huge event that is Crawford and Errol Spence, and your thoughts on that.
Listen, it was a great event. What can you say? That was as good as it gets in our sport. It was two of the great fighters of our time doing battle, and although it did not turn out to be a great fight like we all hoped, you know, super competitive with you know, ebbs and flows and back and forth, which would be better than if it was just a boring fight that didn't have any kind of drama or any kind of interesting stuff happen. But Terrence Crawford showed himself to be the Hall of Famer that I think a lot of us already sort of figured he was even before that fight. And in my opinion anyway, takes the mantle as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing.
So obviously, you know, we're very greedy as boxing fans. Once the fight is done, we want to know what's next. And there seems to be a lot of options, but Terrence doesn't seem to be open to many of those. He seems to be stuck on Charlo and the Errol Spence rematch. What do you see happening?
Well, I'm not sure what the other huge options are for him at the moment. Obviously, he doesn't have a choice in the matter if Errol exercises his right to the contractual rematch. So that's kind of out of his hands. If Errol accepts, you know, says I'm doing the rematch and submits the formal paperwork or, you know, lets them know contractually, then that will be Terrence Crawford's next fight. So he's got to sit and wait for that. I believe that he had, it was, I forget if it was 30 days or 45 days, but the point is it's coming soon that there'll be a decision made as far as that goes. So if it's going to be the Errol Spence rematch, that'll be the next fight. If it's not going to be the Errol Spence rematch and Crawford wants to fight again before the end of this year, which he may not necessarily want to do. He just made a huge amount of money. It's not like it's incumbent on him to get back in the ring. I mean, as fans, we'd love to see him follow up that kind of brilliant performance and not go inactive again. But remember, he did fight earlier this year. This was his second fight by today's boxing star standards. 2 fights is normal. So if he doesn't fight the rest of the year, it wouldn't be completely out of the realm. But there's still plenty of time if he does want to fight again to get something else going. Either the rematch with Spence if Errol wants it. And if it's not, look, he's not going to fight Charlo next. That would obviously be the obvious fight because it's a totally normal thing in boxing history for the champion in the welterweight division to then go to the junior middleweight division and fight the champion in that weight class, and that's Charlo. And Charlo has said to anybody who will listen that after he takes care of whatever happens on September 30th with Canelo, win or lose, he says he's coming back to defend his titles at 154. So that's a hugely entertaining, interesting fight that a lot of people, I think, would be very excited about if the two undisputed champions were to fight each other. Although, obviously, once the fight between Charlo and Canelo takes place, win or lose, Charlo, he'll still be champion, but he won't be undisputed from the fact that he has all the belts because of the machinations of the sanctioning bodies, and they've got mandatories. But it's okay. Put that aside. It's still a great matchup. So if Spence says he doesn't want the rematch, and you know that you have a fight on September 30th where Charlo is occupied, the question becomes, what is the other big fight out there for Crawford if it's not either of those two guys? I don't think I know the answer to that. I mean, he could, look, he's got now, I think was a pleasant situation that worked well for him in dealing with PBC. I'm not sure if they still have him for another fight if Errol turns down the rematch. If they do, or even if they don't and they make another deal, look, they still have other quality fighters. They still, I mean, Keith Thurman's going to want to come back. He was there at the fight talking it up about how he wants to get back in the ring. I think that's a possibility. But you tell me, I mean, what else is out there that's would be a big fight for him? I'm not sure. The guys at 140 pounds are not yet coming to 147. He's not going to be fighting, say, Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney, Regis Prograis. Those fights aren't happening at this stage of the game. So I'm really not sure what the big fight is for him at this moment.
Ooh, I don't really want to give it to you because then we're gonna spiral. I had these hot button topics not to keep you here so long, but Lord, I assume.
Listen, you can keep me if you want. I'm good.
All right, great. I assume Tim Tszyu, right? Like you said, once Jermell Charlo steps in the ring, the bell rings. He loses his title. Tim Tszyu somewhere in Australia celebrating that he got elevated. Crawford could fight Tim Tszyu. I spoke to his team, Bomac. Well, Danny spoke to his team, my co-host, and they said they will not be going to Australia for that. So I don't know. Can we get Tszyu to come back here to America for a Crawford fight?
I think absolutely. Tim Tszyu, first of all, that is a good matchup. Second of all, I think that Tim Tszyu and his people would have absolutely no problem to come back to America. They want to fight in America. Obviously, he does big business in Australia, but he came here with a purpose when he fought on Showtime. He was signed to come back here to fight Charlo when the fight was postponed in January for a fight of the magnitude of a Terrence Crawford, which would obviously be a big-time Las Vegas fight. I guarantee you they would be happy to come back and fight in the United States. You can't make that fight in terms of what the financials are for both sides. If it's in Australia, the time zones don't really adjust very well. And even if you could work it out, like they've done that before where the fight's during the day and it's at night here in America. But the money for a Crawford fight at that level, you need to be here in the United States so fans realize it's happening and the media is able to better cover it. I mean, there'd be no way that fight would happen in Australia unless there was some kind of crazy pot of gold that somebody decided to put up for it. So I think that if Tim Tszyu and that fight could, if Crawford had interest in that matchup, 100% that the Tszyu team would be willing and ready and able to fight in the United States. If they were willing to fight here against Charlo in Las Vegas, I have no doubt they would do it against Terrence Crawford.
I mean, and just to tie that up, like if he really wants to be the first, and for Al, if Al wants to go in history as, the guy to have the first ever 3-time undisputed, someone has to get the belt from Tszyu when Charlo wins or loses to Canelo to then make that a true undisputed fight. But my other big fight, obviously you mentioned Keith Thurman, based off pay-per-view numbers and his, the way he speaks. I think he can sell some units with Crawford. It'll give Crawford, another December fight that's a la tune-up-ish just because Keith has been out of the ring so long. We can't really say he's in his prime or at his best.
That said, though, I would never look. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying about the time off. I would not refer to a fighter the caliber of Keith Thurman, even with the time off and all, as a tune-up fight. It's still he's not like a second-rate kind of guy. He's a real solid quality fighter. Now, maybe he's not what he once was, but I personally would not refer to a fight with Keith Thurman as a tune-up.
I'm glad that you say that because that means that the time off doesn't come into consideration and you're looking at solely skill. So my other super fight, and I call it that, and it's going to sound crazy. You're older than me. You've been in this business longer. You can make a better comparison. I've been trying to do this now for about 5-6 straight days with dozens of callers every single day. But I think Tank can be this version's Duran. He can move up and fight our version of Ray Leonard and Crawford, but not really Crawford because Crawford's more a haggler, right? Except he's getting the Ray Leonard treatment in the end. He doesn't have the losses of Hagler. Long story short, Duran was the greatest lightweight, moves up 2 divisions to fight Ray Leonard and beats him undefeated. Is it possible here?
Listen, I'm not one to knock somebody's fantasy fight. That's, certainly would be public interest, I have to imagine. And I have nothing against Tank Davis, the boxer, whatsoever. He's an exciting fighter. He's a personality. He can punch like anybody. But I could not, in good conscience, put his name in the same sentence in my mouth with Roberto Duran. That is not happening. He has yet to fight the top fighters, even at 135 pounds, much less 140 pounds, much less 147 pounds. And you're talking about going from essentially 135. He's had one fight at 140. And then, of course, the Garcia fight was 136, basically a lightweight fight. And I'd like to see some evidence that he can handle even a top fighter at 140. You want to go fight pick a guy. You want to fight Teofimo and beat him? You want to do a top guy at lightweight or somewhere in the middle like a Haney or Lomachenko or whoever before you start mixing up with Crawford. Because if he's going to fight Crawford or if he's going to welterweight, you're not just going to go there. You're not talking about him fighting just a regular, quality welterweight. You talk about him fighting the best welterweight in Crawford,
But Dan,
the fighter that many people think is number one in the world.
How, again, we have to take away how they brought Tank up and just solely look at his skill and what he's done with the people in front of him. Mm-hmm. How much different or better is he than Mikey? Mikey had an opportunity with Earl. Mikey moved up the same amount of divisions. Mikey doesn't have the power or the explosiveness of Tank. Remember the Gamboa fight? He gave Crawford problems for being shorter. Crawford admitted that in an interview. Tank is short and stocky. He can stay under. Those uppercuts, he's proved in other fights that he's deadly with. Obviously, the power has to translate. And that's the only reason that I use Duran, not because of Tank's accomplishments, just to show casuals, hey, there was a lightweight that moved up 2 divisions to face a very great welterweight in Ray Leonard and accomplished that. He even went 15 with Hagler at 60.
It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't in the next fight, but it was by design. When Shane Mosley was the lightweight champion, he took 2 smaller welterweight fights just to sort of get used to it. He skipped over junior welterweight, went to welterweight, took the 2 lesser fights, and then it was all by design to fight Oscar De La Hoya for the welterweight title. And we saw what he did, and he eventually became a champion also at a junior middleweight. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that when you're dealing with the number 1 fighter in boxing, and Tank is not yet even proven in his own weight class against the very best. And I'm not saying that as a negative about Tank Davis, because I think he would probably do very well against some of those guys. He does not, for whatever the reasons are, his decisions or his advisors or whoever, they haven't looked to make those matchups. But that would be fine. And, you mentioned about Mikey Garcia when he fought Errol Spence. We all thought Mikey was kind of taking off a little bit more than he could chew on that fight. I didn't really give him much of a chance in that fight against Errol. Now, I didn't expect Spence to win like literally 12 rounds to 0. I thought he would win the fight probably by a knockout, in the middle to later rounds. But instead, he just kind of played with him for 12 rounds and toyed with him and won every single second. So, Mikey was never cut out to be a welterweight. He was a tremendous fighter, from featherweight to junior welterweight, I guess. But once he got above that, there was really no competing even with the best guys. And as far as Tank going to welterweight, I'll just reiterate, if he wants to do that, I'd be perfectly happy with it. But I would personally like to see him have at least one fight against one of the better guys, in and around that division, either 40, even a top fighter at 35, like a truly top fighter, or even somebody else that's not Crawford at 47, instead of throwing him in with the number 1 fighter in the sport, and is who's now, he may be 35 years old, Terrence Crawford, but there's nobody that can tell me that he doesn't look like he's still in his absolute prime right now.
2 follow-ups on the subject. So would you be different on this subject if the fight with Earl hadn't happened yet?
Well, I guess you probably would be, because you wouldn't have known what's going to happen, but you can't really go backwards. We saw what happened. We know, how he took him apart. Now, I've always thought Crawford was a top fighter. And I never blamed Crawford for the inability to get the biggest fights. It was just disappointing that he didn't have the biggest fights in the division, because for the last several years, since he got there with the first fight he had in the weight class against Jeff Horn, he won the belt, the WBO belt. That was really, in my opinion, was fraudulently had been owned by Horn, because I thought he got beaten by Manny Pacquiao. But put that aside for a second. He didn't get the chance to fight Danny Garcia. He didn't get the chance to fight Keith. He didn't get the chance to fight Errol years earlier. He didn't get the chance to fight Sean Porter when he was still at his best. He didn't get a chance to fight even like a Lamont Peterson when he was still really good. All those PBC welterweights he missed out on, and he finally was able to get Porter, which turned out to be his last fight. And then he obviously got Errol when Errol was, still considered one of the best out there. So we don't know what would have happened back in that day. But you can't look backwards. He did fight Errol Spence, and now we're talking about, you're saying about the possibility of a Tank fight. So I can only base it on what I saw that took place 2 weeks ago.
For sure. So I guess the other one is Jerome Boots Ennis, where he doesn't have the main events that a Keith one-time Thurman has. He hasn't been on pay-per-view like Thurman, But if we're going in a social media era where Steven Espinoza cares a lot about that when it came to the Tank and Ryan fight, he is more popular on social media and has more followers than Thurman. Can you see Terrence sticking around welterweight for that fight, and do you see Showtime, putting up enough to make that fight? Is it worth it to anybody?
Well, as far as if they would put up the money, that would be Crawford is now to the point where his next fights are going to be on pay-per-view. So it's not a matter of anybody putting up the money. You go out there, you basically, you eat what you kill, essentially. You sell it and you reap the reward on what the pay-per-view does. So maybe there's some kind of guarantee, but it's not going to be some kind of crazy, huge, massive number. You got to do it. You're going to get paid on what you sell, which is what Errol and Terrence were able to do because of the fact they did a great number on pay-per-view, not to mention that the gate was over $20 million. And then you take all the other revenue, from the international broadcast to the sponsorships that you saw on the ring mats and on the ring apron and all that business. Then you throw in like all the T-shirts. I was, staying at the Park MGM and, they sold out all the programs and they sold out all the posters and all those guys, they get a piece of that action. So, there's money to be made. The question to me is, does Terrence Crawford, is he going to be motivated for those kinds of fights? If he wants to stay at welterweight and defend the titles, the undisputed titles, then he could fight a Boots Ennis, but who's an IBF mandatory. The next in line in terms of the mandatories is another fight that would probably be a good fun fight, which is Amanta Stanionis, who's a WBA mandatory. That's the fight that's next on the docket. Because when you're undisputed and you have a bunch of belts, the organizations use the rotation system. So even though it may have been a while since one of the particular belts was defended in terms of a mandatory, they agree on what the order of those mandatories is supposed to be. And next up in the welterweight rotation is Stanionis. And I believe after Stanionis would be Ennis. So it's going to be up to Crawford. If Errol Spence does not accept the terms and want to do the rematch and says, you know what, I've decided against taking that option, and Crawford wants to still have the belts, it's going to come, the rubber will hit the road because the WBA will order the fight and they'll have a certain amount of time to make a deal, or there'll be a purse bid. And that'll be that. And I mean, certainly he could vacate the belt or and go in whatever direction he wants. I don't think at this stage of Crawford's career, anybody's going to push him to do a fight that he doesn't want. It's sort of the same thing. Like, no one's going to push Canelo to do a fight he's not interested in, or Tyson Fury, or, the biggest guys out there. They do mandatories when they fit the agenda. Canelo Alvarez did the Yildirim mandatory in the WBC because it fit the agenda. It was perfectly fine. He was staying active. He was fighting 4 times in 11 months. It was part of a deal to get the Callum Smith fight. So he said, fine, I'll slip one in there against kind of a soft touch and take care of the mandatory. I don't think Crawford is looking to do those types of fights. And I'm not sitting here saying that a fight with Stanionis or Stanionis or Ennis are soft touches. It's just a matter of, after having that level of an event, how much backwards does Crawford want to go? Because listen, nothing against either of those fighters. Going from fighting Errol Spence in the biggest fight of our time to taking a fight with Stanionis or even a Boots Ennis is still a step down in terms of not the competition, but in terms of the magnitude of the event.
I got to double back because it slipped up. So I listened to your podcast, the betting one, and I'm obviously subscribed. So,
good. Bet US, baby.
So I'm doubling back on the Tank situation to make sure you know that he said he could knock out Crawford in 6. Also, remember the back and forth with Ellerbe, Tank, and Thurman, how they felt they could also beat Thurman. Plus, he fought Barrios, who moved up to welterweight, fought Thurman, didn't get stopped by Thurman, then next fight knocked out a welterweight. Recently, this week, Crawford did a bunch of interviews, and in one, I think it was Hot 97 with Ebro, he said Tank would have to come up to welterweight. So again, guys like you, maybe with the magical pen, maybe we can entice Crawford to possibly giving up a pound for a super fight, right? Because technically speaking, Dan, give me another super fight for Crawford.
Listen, I'm not into catch weights. If the athletes agree to it, I'd have no problem with it. But I'm not going to pound for a catch weight fight. If Terrence Crawford is the undisputed, #1, undefeated welterweight champ of the world, pound for pound #1 in the sport, and you've got a great star who's also undefeated and a fine fighter in his own right, in Gervonta Davis, and he wants to take the challenge, go to 147 and fight the guy, and stop none of the nonsense of catch weights. What's 1 pound going to be? Terrence Crawford has earned his right to say, you want to fight me? Fight me at 147 the same way. We can go through a litany of other top fighters. No one's going to make Canelo Alvarez change weight, to give him a pound or give him 2 pounds or whatever. You could say the same thing when Tank Davis is fighting in the weight class that he's comfortable in. He's not giving up any weight. He made Ryan come all the way down to 36 when Ryan would have been much better off probably staying higher. He made him do a rehydration clause. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So in a fight between Crawford and Tank, if it was to happen, Crawford is the one that can dictate a lot of that, because as big of a star as Tank is, he's got one big mega fight that he did with Ryan, and I'm not downgrading the event. It was a huge event, and it did bigger business than Spence and Crawford. But you can't deny that Crawford's got a certain level of accomplishment and also commercial ability now, also based on what happened with Spence. And he's the champ, and he's also the undefeated guy. He's also the pound-for-pound guy. If they want to do the fight, I would see no reason why Crawford would even acknowledge going down 1 pound. Not even 1 pound, not even 1 ounce.
But wait, are you saying Crawford's the A side?
Damn right.
Wow, there's no way. Listen, Tank's consistency on pay-per-view supersedes Crawford's. Like, Crawford's not been successful till last week.
Listen, I'm not in any way knocking what Tank has done on pay-per-view at all, not whatsoever. He has one mega fight. Can't argue with that. Biggest fight of this year. I've, all along going into the Errol Spence and Crawford fight week, I was asked by many people on some interviews, on some YouTube channels, that sort of thing about the fight. And I kept saying Spence and Crawford is not the biggest fight of the year, because when I use the word biggest, for me anyway, it means biggest in terms of everything. And that includes the commercial aspect of the fight. And I knew, as great of a matchup as it was heading into it, how big of a deal it was, what I kept terming Spence and Crawford was, it's the most important fight of the year. It's the most significant fight of the year. It's the most historical fight of the year. But it wasn't the biggest fight of the year. I always believed
it was the better fight.
Yeah, it was the more,
because we knew what we were getting with Ryan and Tank. There were a certain demographic that believed in Ryan.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, what did it mean for the history of the sport? I'm a historian by heart. So to me, the undisputed championship, the 2 number 1 and 2 guys, or 3 or however, but clearly Errol and Crawford were, even on the worst day, in the top 5, both of them in pound for pound. Both were unbeaten, but the title was a big deal. So I'm thinking about it from the historical point of view. Had nothing to do with because, you bring in a certain audience or the other guy brings in a certain audience. I just knew that Spence Crawford, as great of a matchup as it was not going to do the same kind of business as what Ryan and Tank did. However, that's one fight. Now, Tank has done good business on his other fights, but he's not done crazy numbers. He's done very solid numbers. I can't argue with that. But 300,000-ish is not a million. And again, you're right. Crawford has not performed on pay-per-view, but he hasn't really had that many fights. The Porter fight, I don't even blame Porter or Crawford. That was just a complete dumb business decision, in my opinion, for having ESPN do it only on ESPN Plus. They tried to make it they do their UFC fights, when boxing consumers have been conditioned for 30 years that you can just buy it on regular television. And when they finally flipped the switch and they made that fight only available on ESPN Plus, where first you had to buy the subscription, then you had to buy the pay-per-view, it limited the audience so severely. I mean, I was at that fight at Mandalay Bay, and I was getting people who, even boxing people who I know in the business, were texting me how come I can't buy the fight on pay-per-view? Or I was getting people on Twitter how come I can't find the fight? And I had to explain to them, well, you have to go first buy ESPN Plus, then you got to buy the pay-per-view. And people just had no idea. So that fight bombed in one sense, but it really wasn't because it wasn't an attractive fight. It wasn't an attractive fight. It was because they just completely mismanaged the way that they made it available. You got to go back before that. Nobody expected Crawford Avanesian to do any kind of numbers with BLK Prime, that really had no idea what they were doing. And before that, he wasn't a big name. He was, he had a couple of smaller fights against Khan and against Victor Postol years ago. So he's still sort of a neophyte when it comes to headlining pay-per-views. I dare say that if he's fighting a real top guy, he's going to do big numbers also. He could do on the level of the non-mega fights that Gervonta did. If you put Crawford in coming off that performance against another solid opponent,
boots.
Maybe he may not do a million buys, but I think he could do the same kind of numbers that Tank did and hit those 300s.
With Boots?
I think that would have a chance. I think if you put him in with any of the guys, whether you put him in with Boots or maybe Stanionis, or if you did a Thurman type of fight, I think those are fights that would have a chance to do some commercial success. Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna leave my
I mean,
fantasy
you're
fight
saying
alone.
that Davis is the big star on pay-per-view because he's just has the longer track record, which he does, having been in more events. But he's only got one event that's a home run.
Absolutely, but those other ones, they're either at least doubles or he's getting on base. They're able to cover overhead, cover his
Sure.
purse, and then he does great gates. So
Oh, no
it
doubt
makes
about it.
sense.
Listen, I'm like I've said many times, I'm not knocking what he's done. I'm making the only point that is that the fact that he'd be going into the other guy's weight class, that he's the champ, he's number one pound for pound, he's coming off his own very successful event, that that they're going to share stature, and that Crawford, at least in terms of weight, is going to probably dictate. And by the way, I've been doing this a long time. I got almost 25 years in this. I never really gave a damn about A side, B side. You want to fight the fight. But I don't care whose name comes first. I don't care who walks to the ring first. I don't care who gets announced first. To me, if I was the fighter, the only thing I would give a shit about was whose name do they say last at the end of the fight when they raise your hand.
So back to regular boxing, no more fantasy. I would like you to now compare Terrence Crawford as the undisputed champion, Boots Ennis as the mandatory, to Devin as the undisputed champion, Shakur as the mandatory, and your stance on the 25%. Is it fair to have 25% of undisputed? Because the way I see it, he's getting a shot at all 5 belts, Lenio included, because if you beat Devin, you're the man, so the ring comes with it, plus every other belt. If you don't take the 25%, Devin becomes champion in recess. You get a shot at 1 belt.
Yeah, true. That's true. Listen, to me, the organizations have their way they do the splits of the of fights in a purse bid situation. No one is saying, and this was the same thing that happened going back a few months ago when there was a lot of back and forth about whether or not we would see like Jose Ramirez fight Regis Prograis, for example, or that type of fight. Those deals are only, that was when the title, Regis had won the belt, or even when it was vacant. The percentage split that is dictated, that's only if there's a purse bid. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that would make it so that whatever 2 fighters you want to mention, if it's Haney and Shakur, there's nothing that would stop their side from sitting down and negotiating a deal that would be whatever percentage they agreed on. So the percentage split, and in the WBC, I believe it would be 70-30 in favor of the champion. And then they take 10% and they put, whatever the winning bid is, if there is a purse bid, they take 10% as a bonus and they give it to the winner of the fight. In fact, we just saw that literally as we're doing this earlier on Tuesday. They had the WBC had the purse bid for Oshaki Foster against Rocky Hernandez for the WBC's 130-pound title, and Matchroom Boxing won the purse bid for like $466,000 and change. 10%, $46,000 and change, sits in a escrow account, and they split the other 90%, 70-30, and the winner of the fight gets the other $46,000 and change as a bonus. So, but if you don't do a purse bid, just sit down like business people at a table and work out what it is, whatever the percentage is. I mean, people get hung up on percentages. I know this. You can't pay your light bill with a percentage. You can't pay your mortgage with a percentage. You can't send your kid to college with a percentage. You need cash. You need money. And, the champion in this case, Devin Haney, I think, of course, would be entitled to the larger piece of the pie in that fight, my opinion. He's done a solid number on pay-per-view already with Lomachenko, and they did, obviously, a very good gate there. And Shakur Stevenson has not had that opportunity yet. I'm not saying that down the road he can't become a pay-per-view top fighter in his own right. And also, sometimes if you want to get the opportunity, you got to give to get. So you have to decide, is it worth it for me to give up some on this fight, especially a guy like Shakur or Haney, because they're still young fighters. They're still in their early to mid-20s. They got plenty of time, you would think. We're not talking about a guy that's maybe in his last couple of fights, and it's imperative to get every dollar there is to make sure you have a nice retirement fund. You got to figure these young guys have plenty of years to make huge amounts of money. So it's a calculated risk. If you really think you're going to win this fight, I'm not saying, get taken advantage of, But, you know, take the short money, go out there and kick some ass.
Do you feel Devin took short money by taking the deal to sign Lou DiBella plus co-promote with Top Rank and the 3-fight deal that he took? Do you, like, would you recommend fighters to take that sort of deal?
I mean, from my knowledge, Devin Haney made a career money for those fights he had with those guys under those fights, under that promotion. So I think he did very well. He made like, I don't know, I think it was like $4 million for the well, a little less for the first fight, but like 4 million and change for the second Kambosos fight, and then did very, very well in the Loma fight. So I mean, yeah, no, he did very well. I don't think he was taken advantage of financially whatsoever. He made a very smart decision to take that deal. He was a free agent at that time. He had a great opportunity to win the undisputed title, which is a legacy-making thing. And I understand this is a business and you want to make money, but I believe that many fighters, besides the money, they want the glory and they want the history and they want that Hall of Fame resume line and all that stuff also. And Devin Haney got it, and he made a ton of money doing it. So yeah, it was a good deal for him. And
But
if you
it was
could
a
get that deal,
sacrifice, yes or no? Because that's what I'm trying. I feel
what
like
was the sacrifice?
I mean, he had to sign to 2 promoters to get one fight. Plus, there was a rematch clause. Both of them were in Australia. And then after you lift the belts from the champ, you're forced to fight Lomachenko.
Well, he wasn't forced to fight anybody. Lomachenko was his
Part of the
WBC.
contract.
That wasn't part of the contract. That was a mandatory fight.
According to Bill, they couldn't fight anybody besides Lomachenko.
I don't know if I believe that necessarily. Maybe they couldn't have done it under that promotional contract, and they would have had to, give up the belt or something like that. But the point here is, though, he made a lot of money for those fights. It was a great deal for Devin Haney, who had made good money with Matchroom Boxing in his previous, handful of fights that helped get him a belt and put on some events. They did a good job with him also, but he had the opportunity to make this money. He raised his hand when Loma dropped out of the Kambosos fight. Devin said, "I'll take that smoke," and he made the fight. And sometimes you got to go to Australia. Kambosos was a big draw there. They sold out a huge stadium in Australia. If they had done that fight in the United States, it would have drawn a few thousand people. So, you fish where the fish are, and the money and the people were in Australia for those fights. He came and he went and he did the job, and he did a brilliant performance. I'm a huge Devin Haney fan. I thought he looked great in both fights. And he comes back as champ. Again, nobody's entitled to have a fight in their backyard. No one's entitled to make huge amounts of money. You got to earn it. Kambosos was able to, you get what you negotiate is the bottom line. They negotiated a good deal. Haney got the opportunity. It paid off for everybody because they both made a ton of money. And in Haney's case, he got the chance to win the titles all in one night. And, I don't love the rematch clause. I'm on record, not just for that fight, for any of these fights. I don't love that Errol has a rematch clause because, if he exercises it, I don't think the fight's going to do anything close to that. Nobody will be as excited. But for Haney, what else could he have gotten? He got as much money as there possibly could have been made in these last couple of fights. And is there some other promoter that would have done a better job in making a big event or paying him as much money as Top Rank and Lou did for the 2 fights that he just finished off with the rematch and then the Loma fight? No, I don't think so.
And how do you compare Shakur to Boots? Is there a comparison there? Obviously, again, Shakur has more of a fandom, so people are like, oh, the 25% is disrespectful. I feel like it's 25% of all the belts. It's a great offer. Is Boots in the same situation? Should he be entitled to more than 25% if Crawford offers the fight?
Boots is entitled to what he can negotiate. Boots is entitled to what the what the IBF, because that's where he's the mandatory, would tell him he's entitled to in a purse bid. So if he can negotiate more than what the purse bid figure is, great. If he can't, go to a purse bid. So it's not, to me, I don't get caught up in what you're entitled to. You're not entitled to shit. You're entitled to what you negotiate.
All right. So next, obviously, you broke the news of David Benavidez and Benavidez-Andrade, the fact that they're talking for a fall pay-per-view, and you also finally released to someone on Twitter the numbers for the Plant and Benavidez pay-per-view. That was something that we hadn't.
I didn't even think that was that big of a. I didn't think that was that big of a deal. I kind of forgot about that when somebody asked me. I was like, you know what? And I'm not trying to be like a wise guy. Like I went back and I looked and I realized, you know what? I never actually wrote that because it wasn't like the first in my mind.
And
it wasn't
because you never wrote it, everyone assumed they were hiding those numbers because no one else revealed those numbers. Like you're literally the first one till yesterday.
I didn't even realize that, but Yeah, so that was like 175-ish, 180-ish for that fight. I thought that's a pretty good number. I
That
mean,
is a good number.
people get so hung up on, pay-per-view numbers. Like they see, okay, Spence and Crawford did like whatever it did, 600 plus 650, whatever the number was. And that fight did like 180, and you think, okay, that's a much better performance. And obviously, in terms of the raw number, it is. But what people don't understand, I think, and I hear and read from what people write all the time about that is the only thing that matters when you're doing a pay-per-view event, whether you're the boxer who's reaping a percentage of whatever the profits are, or you're the promoter that's doing the same thing, but also the one putting up the money, taking the gamble. The only thing that matters is if it costs me $1 million to do the event, can I bring in over $1 million in revenue and profit? It's all math. That's all it is. So if you can do an event like Benavidez against Caleb Plant, where the purses are set, and you can draw that kind of figure on pay-per-view, you know what that's going to break down to. You know what you have in your gate. You know what you have in your sponsors, your international, your other ancillary revenue, such as T-shirts and all that kind of nonsense. And you've generated more than what it costs you to put on the event, because there's obviously a lot of expenses. You got the undercard, you got any number of other expenses, hotels and flights and insurance, and we can list 1,000 different things. But that event probably came out quite profitable, and everybody did well. And then you get to a fight like Crawford against Spence, sort of the same thing. You buy but much bigger numbers. So yeah, that was a good number. It doesn't make them pay-per-view stars, either of them, but it's a good start. And I would dare say that if David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, who had a lot of heat going into that fight because of all the back and forth, and they obviously, unfortunately, had the just a terrible bad blood between them as they, called each other out in very vulgar language and all kinds of terrible things going into the fight, but it helps sell. Look, Andrade's a good talker. Benavidez is now more of an established guy because people bought that fight. It would turn out to be a hell of a fight. It turned out to be a good card. Demetrius has always been sort of an underrated guy in terms of like his ability to market himself and to talk to the public. It doesn't hurt that you have a Black American fighter against a Mexican American fighter. That always will engender not just some heat, but also they bring from different, as you mentioned, different demographics. So that can't hurt either. So I think that has a chance to be a successful event. I don't think it will do what Caleb Plant and David did, but I don't think it would be much less than what they did. And it would still be more than what Showtime could afford, budgetarily speaking, to put that on as a championship boxing event on Showtime.
Now, for me, having been watching the sport for a while, I prefer the Andrade Benavidez over Morrell, but there was a lot of talk of Morrell Benavidez. Do you know what happened to that, or was that all just false?
No, it wasn't false. I wrote that, as a matter of fact. I broke that also, and I didn't break that using like unnamed sources. When I wrote the story about the possibility of David Benavidez fighting David Morrell, that was with on-the-record quotes from Samson Lukowicz, who is the promoter of David Benavidez. That was on-the-record comments from Leon Margulies from Warriors Boxing, who's one of the co-promoters of David Morrell, and they were trying to work that out. Now, my understanding of what happened was sort of like a combination of things. One, it was right around the time that Canelo signed with PBC, and I think both sides sort of were like, well, why are we going to do this and potentially risk the Golden Goose fight, which would be against Canelo? But there was also I won't say a disagreement, but maybe a lack of communication where Samson and David's father had agreed to do the fight, and David was kind of ticked off because nobody really clued him in on it, and he was sort of being, let's say, a little petulant. Let's say he just wasn't going to do it when he felt like they were not telling him what was happening. And in the end, they decided to go their different ways for the time being and end up making this, or they haven't made it yet, but they're trying to do this fight now with Benavidez-Andrade, which is also a good fight. And frankly, I think a better fight from the standpoint of being able to sell the fight, because I love David Morrell as a fighter, but he just does not have he hasn't been around long enough. People don't know him. I'm not saying that Andrade is some big megastar, but I feel like boxing fans are certainly much more familiar at the moment with what Demetrius has done over his career than what David Morrell has done in just less than 10 fights.
Absolutely, I feel he's more known to boxing
But
fans.
I'm down for either fight. You want to tell me it's David Morrell against Andrade? I'm in. You want to tell me it's David Morrell against Benavidez? Wonderful. You want to tell me it's Benavidez against Andrade? I'm in. Any of those matchups, I think, would be a good fight, and it keeps the winner in a great position to potentially fight Canelo if he beats Charlo, and even the loser of the fight. If it's a good fight, you don't throw them away. They can make a comeback. And now that they're all with PBC, because Andrade came into the fold for that fight he had in January on the Tank undercard, it's now much easier to make those matchups. So I hope they get it done. It's a good fight.
Next is Clarissa Shields and her campaign to fight Keith Thurman. What is your stance on that?
My stance is I don't think there'll be any athletic commission in the country that would actually approve that fight. I could see it potentially with certain rules perhaps being approved as an exhibition kind of matchup where they had to wear different kind of gloves or perhaps headgear and that sort of thing. But there's no commission in this country, in my mind, that would approve that fight. So I understand where Clarissa's coming from. I think that she really believes she could beat a Keith Thurman. And all due respect to Clarissa, who I have ample respect for. I've known her since she was an amateur. I think she's a tremendous fighter. I will vote for her for the Hall of Fame someday when that hits the ballot. But she ain't beating a male fighter, in my opinion, especially somebody as accomplished and as good as Keith Thurman.
All right, we're on the same page. So, that being said, she did take to social media after Shadeja Green's performance and had a lot to say, specifically that asking her fans did they want her to move up to 68 and beat up Shadeja Green. Then they had their own back and forth. What's your thoughts on that matchup, and how soon can we get it?
Well, first of all, Clarissa has experience at 168 pounds. She was a unified champion in that weight class before she started moving down in weight. So she's certainly capable of handling the weight class. Second of all, I had heard a lot about Green, and I had not seen her fight yet until I watched her fight the other night on the Jake Paul card. And maybe she showed a lot of different things in her other fights, but I was really, I don't know her. I'm not knocking her. I just wasn't impressed. The performance that she put in compared to all the stuff I heard, I'm like, this is what they're saying all this great stuff about. So I was not impressed, to be honest with you. So that version of Green, I think would get run out of the ring by Clarissa Shields.
Oh, stab to the heart. My whole community's probably laughing at me right now. But yeah, because I've been following Green for 7 years. I've been talking about this girl for 7 years. Granted, her last performance, and I think people are downing her because she won every round. Like, they're downing her because they expected a knockout because she knocks everyone out. Her last fight, she fought Setaroos, former champ. She knocked her out. Before that,
but there's no shame in losing a fight to Clarissa Shields, who's the number, in my opinion anyway, and I don't think I'm on an island when I say this. Clarissa Shields is the number one women's boxer in boxing right now, pound for pound. I don't think it's really even a close contest at this moment in time.
No, it isn't. It isn't. You're absolutely right. Clarissa, she's everything, and she's accomplished everything. It's going to be very hard for any female to come behind her and do as much as she's done.
Yeah,
but I want to see that fight.
What I'd like, if she's going to get a chance to fight Clarissa, what I would like to see is Green go and do she's now mandatory because, remember the WBO ordered that fight. They gave her permission to do this interim fight because she hadn't fought for a while. So she's come through the matchup this past weekend. She won the fight on the Jake Paul card. And so now let the WBO make that official order, give them a deadline, make them make a deal or go to a purse bid, have Savannah Marshall defend that title against Green. And the winner of that fight could get either a Green versus Clarissa or a rematch between Clarissa and Savannah Marshall, it's whatever weight class they determine. But I would think if you're Clarissa Shields, you'd have the opportunity to go up to super middleweight, back to that weight class where you had won titles in the past, but get a chance to become undisputed in a third weight class, which, that carrot of that history would be a nice thing for any fighter. So that seems to me the logical plan. I doubt there's going to be any kind of Clarissa Shields versus Green fight until the Savannah Marshall fight goes through. She's not going to just go pick Green, who doesn't really bring anything to the table whatsoever. You know her. I now know her. But 99% of the people who follow boxing at any capacity don't know who she is.
No, you're absolutely right. And even for the Marshall fight, I interviewed Green the Sunday after her fight with Jake Paul on Saturday, and she said that after the first round, she adjusted. She wasn't used to seeing that many people fill up all the seats that early, and that scared me because I said, "What happens when you go to the UK and you got to fight Savannah Marshall? That's going to be jam-packed everyone's gonna root against you. So yeah, these fights
You
in
know what? I'll
between,
tell you
she
something.
needs them.
Here's what happens sometimes. You get a fighter who gets a little bit of like a underground following. Maybe they're sort of like not that well known. They kind of become like this, like people sort of recognize the name, but they haven't really seen them, and so they become bigger than life just in people's imagination. I'm not saying that she's not a good fighter or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that because she had so much hype, it just didn't match with when you finally got to look at what she could do, in my opinion. So it's sort of like it's more interesting when it's sort of like you don't know what to expect and you're not really that familiar, but you hear all these things and you hear her backstory and maybe you saw a couple of highlights, on YouTube or on Twitter. But there's a difference between a highlight on YouTube or Twitter than watching a full 10-round fight and then comparing her to somebody like Claressa, where if you follow women's boxing, you've probably seen her fight many times and beat good quality opposition for the last several years, and there's a reason why she's number one. So you're always looking for somebody to make a rival for the established star, and I think that's what some people were thinking about when it comes to Green. Now, if she can go and beat Savannah Marshall and take that title, now maybe we got a real rivalry and a possible interesting fight. But until that happens, I mean, why in the world would Claressa even entertain the fight?
I agree. So Dan, we spoke about Shakur, but didn't say what's next now that Devin is moving up. I don't know what's sexier. I guess we should start with Devin and Regis because I interviewed Bill today. He slipped up and said it's a DAZN pay-per-view. Did you know that?
Well, I actually had inquired about that, and I was told that they hadn't made that decision. I think that for them to go pay-per-view with Haney versus Prograis is a sad commentary on DAZN, which started off as being the end of pay-per-view. Now, I totally understand when you have to if you're doing a Canelo fight, it just became untenable to not have them on pay-per-view. And to be honest, covering DAZN since its inception, my original feeling was there's no way they're going to be able to go through and put on significant fights and never do a pay-per-view. That just, to me, again, it comes back to math. I understand math, basic math anyway, and I knew that wasn't going to work. But if you can't do a Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis fight without a pay-per-view upcharge, why are you in the business? Like, that doesn't make sense. It's not that, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a good fight. It's a really good fight. But it's not some $20 million mega gargantuan fight. And keep in mind also, by having Canelo depart from DAZN, where they're no longer putting up those $30 and $40 million guarantees.
There should be some money left in the
There
budget.
should be. I'm not saying 40 million, but you can't tell me you can't have taken at least a small percentage of that and stuck it in a rainy day account for the opportunity to put on a big fight. So, if DAZN is going to give me, misfit fights and, Jorge Linares against, the Jack Catterall kind of fights of the world, and that's my subscription for $250 a year or whatever I'm paying. And you're going to take a real fight like Haney and Regis and you're going to make that a pay-per-view, that's going to piss me off.
All right, so I'm going to screen share these rankings for you because as Haney takes that fight with Regis, he becomes champion in recess. Vasil has made it, I guess, a statement to Shakur that he's going to retire. So Shakur took to social media today saying, "Don't retire, fight me." Do you believe number 3, Isaac with PBC, would risk a fight for a vacant title with Shakur, or would he stick around and continue to wait for a tank fight? Same thing next would be William Zepeda with Golden Boy. Do they take the risk now that Ryan is lost and Virgil isn't really panning out because of,
Well, there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, first of all, I'm not 100% convinced that Lomachenko's going to retire. If he's going to retire and he makes a retirement announcement, fair enough. I mean, see you in 3 years in the Boxing Hall of Fame. He's had a great career, but I'm not totally sold on that. And that would be obviously a really interesting fight for sure. As far as would Isaac Cruz go that route? I mean, in the business, most of the time anyway, how much are you going to pay me? It's going to be worth my while to take that gamble because, I mean, nothing against Isaac Cruz, but I think I'm not going to stand here on an island and bullshit you and say Isaac Cruz against Shakur Stevenson's a competitive fight. I think that Isaac Cruz would get whitewashed by Shakur Stevenson. That's a 12-0 kind of fight in my mind. How much do you need to get paid to get blown out? And as far as
connection.
William Zepeda,
Yeah.
again, maybe not to the same degree as Isaac Cruz, but again, any of those fighters you mentioned, except maybe Lomachenko, who I would still make the underdog, Shakur is going to be a heavy favorite against all those guys. So the question becomes, how much does it take to get you in the ring? And keep in mind, by the way, whether it's Zepeda or it's Cruz or somebody else, if you go in the ring and you give a good effort and you lose to Shakur Stevenson, it doesn't ruin your career. You lost to one of the most talented boxers we've seen in a long time. Did it hurt Canelo Alvarez when he was a younger fighter and he went and he got played with by Floyd Mayweather? No. He made $10 million for that fight and went on to become the biggest star in the sport once Floyd was gone.
All right. So we got only two more.
Okay.
Joshua Helenius. Your thoughts? Obviously, now Helenius is filled in, common opponent with Wilder. Do you like it as a late minute replacement? I thought they would scrap it all together due to what happened with Andy. Why take the risk again?
Well, when I first heard that Dylan White was out because of the test and they were trying to keep the show together and they were looking for a new opponent, my first thought was, remember what happened the last time he got a replacement opponent to fight Anthony Joshua. Obviously, different scenario. He was coming here to the United States. He was still, had the heavyweight titles. Andy Ruiz obviously was a much more highly regarded fighter, even at that time, than Robert Helenius is at the moment. But I think all things considered, I'm very happy that they were able to keep this show alive. I always feel bad when these things happen and a whole show comes down because one thing happens to one fighter, particularly if it's the B side of the main event. All those other guys that have put in the training camp and spent money on their camps, and it impacts so many people who don't get to make their living. Whether it's the trainers, the managers, the fighters, you disappoint the fans who are looking for a good night out. So I think they did this in the right way. They got a credible opponent in Helenius. Yes, he's coming off, not coming off because he fought last week, actually. But the fight that people thought about or saw, at least in the United States and probably in Britain also, was him getting waxed in the first round by Deontay Wilder. But Deontay Wilder's knocked a lot of good fighters out in the first round. So all things considered, the fact that they were able to get him in place, he agreed to a deal. He's coming off a win last week where he was able to, get in a couple of rounds, 3 rounds, I guess, didn't get injured. More significantly for the UK audience, because here in America and the rest of the world, it was never going to be a pay-per-view, just part of our regular DAZN subscription. But in the UK, they've taken it off of pay-per-view, and now it's just part of your regular DAZN subscription. So you're not paying anything extra if you get DAZN. So that's a good thing. So I think all in all, it's perfectly fine. And the other thing that's sort of interesting, everybody knows that if Joshua is the winner, that the likelihood is that come December/January, he's going to fight Wilder. For the fun of us fans, you can kind of compare a little bit. Like, he knocked him out in the first round. If Anthony Joshua, also knocks him out in the first round, okay. But if he struggles with him, or maybe he doesn't get him until later in the fight, or he goes the distance, it's a way for us to compare in a recent history the two fighters against the same opponent. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that will have anything to do when they fight each other, but it's something fun for us to sort of chew about over the next several days before the fight.
So the last topic is obviously Bradley's. Is that me or you? Bradley's
I think that's you.
thoughts.
What was the?
You want to jump back out and jump in, Dan? Just sounds like something is crossed there.
There we go. Now I got you.
All right. So it would be. Oh, he dropped off. All right. Hopefully we could get him back on. Because next we're going to talk the interview with Floyd, and then that whole interview with Floyd telling Earl to move up, and then we'll finish with Bradley thinking Crawford would beat Floyd if he comes back. Brandon, if you can double check before I start going to callers, if he will be able to come back. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to smash that thumbs up. It's going to help with the visibility of the show. It's also going to show Dan Rayfield do appreciate him coming on today's episode to talk some boxing with us and answering some of these, questions for us, letting us know how he thinks things will end up. It's unfortunate that not more people love the Tank fight, really. My follow-up question that I forgot was, because I remember I told him, I said, Dan, I listened to your show and I'm subscribed to your newsletter. And the reason I said that was to say, I heard you say Tank made 40. I heard you say Ryan made 30. I heard you say Crawford made over 20. So again, where are those men gonna get that money from if they ain't fighting each other, right? Like that, you can't make that money. And I get it. You know, no one wants to believe that Tank can do it because Tank hasn't done it yet. So it's like I say Tank fighting Crawford. Crawford looks so dominant. I sound like an idiot. That's what it looks like. But I get it. Dan, you there? Oh, you got to unmute. It says you have yourself muted, Dan. Yeah, it still says you have yourself muted. It says guest has muted themselves.
Is that better?
That's it. Got you. Got you.
There we go.
So
Sorry
did
about
you?
that. I don't know. I think that was your voice was going crazy. I'm not sure what was going on there.
Yeah. No worries. Appreciate you jumping back. Did you get to catch the Fight Hype interview with Floyd Mayweather? Oh shit.
We was talking about
Spence
Crawford should.
moving up.
Yeah, Spence moving up. I saw like a little thing. I didn't see the interview, but I saw a quote that I don't know if I saw it on one of the websites on Boxing Scene or maybe I saw it on Twitter or something like that. Refresh my memory of what he said. He said that Errol should move up and fight at middleweight, not even at junior middleweight.
Yes, he said 160, 168.
I mean, that's Floyd's opinion. I mean, Floyd's opinion is as valid as anybody. Obviously, he's
I think it's your Wi-Fi, Dan. You're breaking up. You're frozen.
making. I don't know what's going on there, my man.
All right, now you're back. Now you're back.
I think that Floyd 154, I think would be okay at that weight, and you know, it's maybe I wouldn't jump all the way to 168. You got to pace yourself, I guess, when you move up like that.
So the other thing he said, which we touched on a little bit, but he had a different stance. He said he felt Devin Haney was being unfair to Shakur and that he should have offered him a better offer than 25%, especially because he's a black man. Now, you've been doing this longer. I went and did the research. It looks like Mosley maybe got somewhere in the 20 percentile, not 25%. I couldn't find anyone that made 25% once you did the math of what he got and what the other got. Do you know anyone that got 25%? Because again, even McGregor, based off what he got and what Floyd got, that wasn't even 25%.
It's not even about Devin Haney offering him 25%. Have your people talk to his promoter and see if you can work out a deal. And it's not, I don't honestly, I'm so sick and tired of the percentage bullshit. Don't count the other guy's money. Come up with what you think you're worth in terms of the actual dollars. If you want to work for some upside, if it's a pay-per-view, fine. And be happy with what you can negotiate. And don't worry what the other guy makes. I don't worry about what you make, and you don't worry about what I make. I'm doing just fine. And I would say the same thing to the boxers. You know, it all becomes a dick measuring contest. You know, I want 26%. I want 27%. If you're going to go on a percentage, you know what the split is on a purse bid. The WBC has that split, has that set out. That's a guide, and that's only if you can't make a deal. There's nothing that prevents Team Haney, Bill, the manager, because they don't have a promoter at the moment, from sitting down with Bob Arum, who he has a good relationship with from their time working together over the past few fights, and making a business deal. Whatever the percentage is, we'll pay you X. No, we want Y, and see what you can work out. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think this guy should make this much money on a percentage basis and vice versa. I'm not a fanager. I don't care what the percentages are. I deal in the facts. I deal in what purse bids are, what splits are, and what adults can sit down at a business table and decide. I'm not big into Twitter sphere of deciding, you know, because he's my favorite fighter, he should get 5% more. I don't buy that. I don't deal with that.
And Tim Bradley and his thoughts on Mayweather and Terrence Crawford and the possible fight, and you know, Crawford beating any version of Mayweather in Bradley's opinion. Does that matter? Is that more fantasy for you?
It is fantasy, although there was a period of time where Floyd and Tim were actually active at the same time. So the way I looked at it is the following. Floyd Mayweather stands at the top of the mountain, at least of our era, of the last, say, 20 years, let's say. Maybe that's more than one era. I go back as a kid watching Sugar Ray Leonard dominate his era. But if you were to take the type of performance that Terrence Crawford turned in against Errol Spence, and also look at all the other performances he's had since he's been at welterweight, where he stopped every one of his opponents and had been undisputed at 140, been a champion at 135, he made the case based on that type of victory that whoever the top welterweights you want to put in the conversation, you want to put in Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley at his best at welterweight, Wilfred Benitez, Carlos Palomino, go back, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, all the great welterweights that we've seen, in the last, 40 or 50 years. Terrence Crawford's in the conversation. He would hang with any of those guys. There's not one welterweight out there, from Floyd Mayweather to Sugar Ray Leonard, that I could sit here and in good conscience tell you, oh, I think that guy smokes Terrence Crawford. I think Terrence Crawford would win some of those fights. He might lose some of those fights, but he earned his way into the conversation, is the way I look at it. So if you sit here and or Tim Bradley wants to tell me that he thinks that Terrence Crawford beats Mayweather, what am I going to argue with Tim Bradley? He's my guy. He's entitled to his opinion. And if somebody else tells me he thinks that Floyd Mayweather's skills are too much and he'd be able to outbox Terrence Crawford, I can't really argue with that either. I mean, it's a fantasy fight. It's not going to ever happen, and there's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. There's only about how you approach it. If somebody's not open-minded enough to think that both things can happen. Look, I took a lot of shit on social media because, first of all, people misquote me all the time. I said the Vasily Lomachenko, at his best, at 130 pounds, would compete with Floyd and give him a hell of a fight. And you'd have thought I called their mom a bad name. Because I truly believe the Vasily Lomachenko at his top level at 130 pounds would absolutely compete with Floyd Mayweather. I never said he would beat him. I never said he would knock him out. I said it's a fight. And you know what? It is a fight in my opinion. If you think different, fine. And the same goes for what your opinions or anybody's opinions might be about a possible fight between Mayweather and Terrence Crawford. But I know one thing. I've been doing this a long time, and the Terrence Crawford that I saw fight against Errol Spence would be in any fight you could think of in the welterweight division. And people whose background, guys who are in the Hall of Fame as promoters, as matchmakers, people I talk to, who I respect a lot in this business, have said 100% they believe that Terrence Crawford would be in those types of fights and compete and win and maybe lose here and there. But point is, belongs in that group of guys.
Got a few questions here from the people. James Valdez, San Antonio, Texas. How does Canelo versus Charlo fight play out?
First of all, it's a really interesting fight. I would have preferred, I guess, to see him fight the 160 Charlo, but understandably he hasn't fought for 2 years, so that's not happening. I would have preferred to see Canelo fight David Benavidez, if you ask me. That to me was the obvious fight. He's the, if Canelo is the undisputed champion, Benavidez to me is sort of like the undisputed number one contender. But we're not getting that at this moment. But the Charlo fight's an interesting fight. I mean, you have to favor Canelo because of just his experience level and also how good of a fighter he has been for so long. I do think Canelo, and while he's still a great fighter, is maybe not what he was when he was at his absolute peak. But Charlo has been inactive. Charlo's had his own problems outside the ring. And I'm not ready to necessarily make a pick on it, but I think that Canelo would win that fight.
David Maldonado, New York City. Who wins, Teofimo Lopez versus Tank Davis, and how?
Another great fight. I'd love to see it. To me, that's a matter of, can Tank Davis deliver the missile? If he can deliver the missile, he's going to win the fight by a knockout. If he can't connect, it's probably going to be a long night for him.
Lids Low in Decatur, Georgia. Who is actually willing to face Shakur Stevenson at 135? Is it Tank or is it Frank Martin?
Well, I think both of them would be willing. I think it always comes down to what's the business. I don't think anybody's running and unwilling to do the fight. They're all professionals. They all have confidence in their abilities. They all have egos. So I think that I don't view any of them as like a so-called ducker. I just think that the business has to be right.
James Benitez in Alabama. I read your articles all the time, and I'm a big fan of Fight Freaks. My
Appreciate that.
question is, a lot of fighters hate reading the truth someone writes or says because it hurts. Can you name a time, or have you had a time, that lost access to a fighter? Was you ever able to repair that relationship? So I guess, have you ever lost access to a fighter because of something you said, and were you able to fix that relationship?
I mean, certainly over the time period I have done this, I've had my ups and downs with fighters occasionally because I do try to tell the truth. I do try to be realistic. I don't necessarily purposely try to hurt somebody's feelings, but I'm not afraid to give my opinion when asked, sometimes when I'm not asked. But I'll give you one example, and it's no longer an issue. And actually, we're friendly to this day, actually. We still text each other and check in with each other on a regular basis. I covered Bernard Hopkins for a very long time. From my first fight that I did of Bernard's, I want to say that I wrote about was when he fought Richard Hall. And first fight I covered of his in person was the first fight he had with Antoine Eccles. I think I covered something like, I want to say like 27 Bernard Hopkins fights at ringside, and wrote about every single fight that he had from the time I started with that Richard Hall fight. And there was a period of time after he lost his mind, after he beat Tito Trinidad, where he threw over his trainer and he threw over his promoter, Lou DiBella, and he was, he didn't, he thought his shit don't stink, basically. And I wrote an article, and I was still writing boxing at USA Today at that point. And I wrote a piece and was critical. And Bernard Hopkins did not speak to me for like 3.5 years. And as I joked with him after we finally made up and were cool again, I said, you know what, Bernard, I didn't care that you didn't speak to me because I was pissed at you too. I didn't want to talk to you either. We had a good laugh about it. Like, he would go on conference calls, or we'd be in a scrum, and he would purposely like say terrible things about me on the call, knowing I'm listening in. You'd be in a scrum, and he wouldn't even look at you in the eye because he would like look past you. And and it got to a point, he was getting ready to fight Oscar De La Hoya for their undisputed middleweight championship fight. And I was doing a cover story for USA Today. It was like a really big piece. And it was the first time since he wouldn't speak to me, I kind of needed to do an interview with him. I mean, I probably could have scraped by without it, but I kind of needed to do the interview. And his publicist at the time was Kelly Swanson, who a lot of the boxing media know. She does, her company handles all the PBC media relations these days and has for several years. And I was always friendly with Kelly, and I called her up and I explained to her what the issue was. And she set up a phone call where she basically moderated. It was me, Bernard, and Kelly on the phone. And we basically got all our shit out in the open, and we had a good conversation. And you know what? We made peace that night. We never had another problem as long as we've known each other. We don't always agree on anything, but I've become close to Bernard over these last several years. But that was a guy who for 3.5 years, wouldn't speak to me. Which again, I told him flat out, and this is the truth. I didn't give a shit because I didn't want to talk to him either. But it does happen sometimes, and you just have to live with it. I just know one thing: you have to be true to yourself. And you're responsible for your words. And if they hurt somebody's feelings, you don't do it on purpose, but you got to live with the consequences. That's how I've always approached it.
Yeah, man, I noticed Earl wouldn't shake Roy Jones' hand because he picks against them. So, it's like everyone gets it. So the last one, Dan, is from Brandon. It says, thanks for coming on. I've enjoyed your enthusiasm in this interview. Would it be fair to say that the sanctioning bodies seem to operate under a different set of rules for the fighters who bring in the most money? Oh, shit, he dropped off. We only have one more, Brandon. I don't know if you want to tell him that it's all good because all we had was yours, or do you want him to come back? You might want to connect with him and let me know before I start taking callers. If you are enjoying the episode, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. It's going to help with the visibility. It's going to put this episode in the eyes of other boxing fans, and they're going to get to see TBV talk a little bit of boxing with Dan Rayfield, the boxing industry insider, the expert. Let me put my thumbnail because we got the expert opinion from Dan Rayfield is what we got today. So I'm just trying to give him a few minutes to see, will he be jumping back on? Will the producer just, say goodbye? I don't know. I don't want to take a caller and then Dan is on. So we're just waiting a few seconds. But in that time, you should definitely be hitting the thumbs up. As you can see from my thumbnail, these are all the many subjects we touched on. Even though Oh, there she goes. There goes Clarissa. So we touched on Thurman and Clarissa. We didn't touch on Thurman and Boots. We might have to ask him about Thurman Boots if he comes back. But again, he may not since we've had him a while. We've had him a while. Look, I even forgot to ask him about a new Tank because I want Tank to move up too. People want Tank a new to move up too. It's like, bro, I want Tank to move up too. Fuck that Inoue fight. That Inoue fight ain't gonna be as big as the Crawford fight. We all know that. We all know that. And it's like I said, I ain't get to ask that follow-up question. It's like, yo, Tank made 40, Ryan made 30, motherfucking Crawford made 20 plus. Who they making that type of? Because Zoo ain't giving them no 20 million. Zoo, Boots, it ain't gonna be no $20 million paycheck there. It just ain't. But Brandon, make sure you cancel it. I'm going to these phone lines. We got the other Brandon. What up, Brandon? I might have to disconnect and reconnect. I feel like I didn't hear you.
Understand that these people are real people as well with real lives, and things that you say affect them. Even though it's the internet, it can still affect them negatively. So just be aware about that. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make that clear because I saw a lot of people like yesterday and stuff like saying stuff about that, and it was sort of messed up because even people probably like Spence, even they take it to heart. They take it seriously and stuff. And even though he lost, it doesn't mean like people got to be upset about it. You know what I mean? So I mean, even though I was rooting for Spence as well, it's okay to be passionate, but don't be attacking somebody personally for it unless they like really did you wrong in a certain way, or like you're angry, or you're just talking about the sport in general, which is cool. I mean, you can be energized. Like, we want people to be energized and uh, energetic and stuff along those lines. But when you're directly attacking somebody harshly for something that they said, or something that they just who they are in general, how they were born, that's a step too far in my opinion. I think just try to tone it down and don't attack somebody just based on like because how you're feeling, because that's not cool, man. Like, you guys got to be better than that. But boxing, obviously, it's a combat sport, so that's how it is, and sort of it kind of gets under your skin when you're just like talking about boxing because it's just basically combat fighting. So I see what you guys coming from, but you guys, man, do you really think like we're gonna be boxing like in person? Like, that's unlikely. So if that time comes, then yeah, you can talk that way. But I mean, just be respectful. Because I try to be respectful to everybody. When I speak, I always try to be mindful of what people have different opinions about the subject. But this is just a subject at the end of the day. It isn't real. It's not real. We all start from a basis point in life that is just basically just normal, a normal, line. So that's basically what it is. But you don't have to take things to the heart, or you don't have to take things like super seriously. And I mean, I know maybe like you feel a certain way or you're emotional, but don't try to think logically about it, because people, even on social media, like, I'm not sure if this because we're just talking on social media and we're not in person, and people think that they can just say that. I mean, I would, even in person, I wouldn't be saying that, but some people in person say that as well. So social, I think social media and treat it as like you're in person and you're on social media. Like it's the same thing, because these are not just like internet people. Like these are real people with real lives. So yeah, just be mindful. You know, everybody's the same, and pick a fighter and just like back them up and stuff like that, and that's about it. And everybody loves each other. And then that's all I wanted to say.
All right, brother.
Stop the fight, and thankfully it is over.
Facts. What's up?
Hey yo, hey yo, time out. Hold on, my bad. No, shout out to dude, man. I feel where he was coming from, but god damn, man, he was making me depressed over here. Like, bro, this is boxing. We want to talk about motherfuckers getting knocked out, motherfuckers fighting. Look, I get what he's saying and all that, but nah, bro, you called the wrong channel with that one, man, bro. I fuck with that interview though you did before it start lagging up and shit. And dude, I agree with Raphael on a few things, man. I appreciate you asking Bill that question for me when he was on there too. And that's funny that he said that because I don't know how I feel too sure about me. I don't really care because it ain't my business. But I was thinking, damn, is that fight? Should they do that fight on pay-per-view? Like, I don't really think Reed just going to draw a lot of people to want to buy the fight, unless you really know boxing. But as far as the casuals and shit, I was like, damn, I don't know if he's going to be able to move that needle. But, I mean, that'd be a good look for him either way. I think if they do 100,000, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? If they could do that. But I thought it would be better if they probably just did it on the app. I would have downloaded the app and shit just for that. I probably got to download the app and buy the fight now. Fuck it, I'll probably do it. But the Crawford-Spence shit, man, I mean, you think they'll do more numbers on the second fight?
I don't know. It's gonna be hard for people to believe Spence gonna do better in the second fight after watching that first fight.
Yeah, I feel you, but I was talking to a couple people and shit. You know, people like a good comeback story. A lot of people saying they want to see how he bounced back though, so I don't really know.
Yeah, bounce back
It'll be
different from a
interesting.
rematch though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you ain't lying about that. I don't know if you want to rematch him, but I don't know, man. Like you were saying though, he'll still be on pay-per-view because a lot of people want to see him come back and shit against whoever he fight.
Hell yeah, they'll
But
pay for Thurman versus him, his comeback fight, the return, the man down, the big fish back in the ocean.
I'm surprised my man ain't say that Thurman was the option for Bud. I mean, I'm surprised you said Thurman wasn't the option for my man Bud, man. I'm surprised he said that.
He did.
Oh, he did. Oh, okay. I must have missed that part.
But he said it like tongue in cheek. It ain't no real like. He like they could he says if Earl don't take the rematch, and PBC want to offer him a fight, they got Thurman. That's how he preferenced it.
Oh, all right, cool. Yeah, and as you gotta hang up though, the Tank and Crawford shit. I told you that shit fairy tale, yo. Tank ain't doing no shit like that.
Stop the fight, and thankfully it is over.
Yeah, again, this is why I feel horrible. I didn't ask that follow up because I get people don't believe Tank doing it, but where Tank gonna make $40 million again?
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to say, yeah, Ness, he got the 40, he don't need it again. Yeah, all right. Come on, I ain't never been like that. Once you paying me a certain amount, I can't go back. You ain't gonna you ain't about like how I'm gonna look at Al Heyman when he come at me with this 2 million, 5 million, 3 million, whatever million. I mean, you just gave me 40. You talking about 3 million for Cruz.
You know who ain't getting for that, and I don't want to see it happen, but a Nui way.
He ain't getting 20 million or 40 million for a new way. I would have to see that. But fast, let me get to somebody else. But that I would really have to see that. If y'all believe he would get 40 million for a new way ain't no motherfucking. A new way ain't no motherfucking. What's this dude's name? He ain't no motherfucking Ryan. No way, no how. Jay, what up, though? Jay Dykeman. I gotta get that soundbite for you. You a DJ? I need that Black Rob. I'm talking that Dykeman. All right, then. Remember that shit? You on mute, man? Come on. You on mute, fans?
All right. Hold on, brother.
What
Hold
up?
on.
What up,
Hold on.
old timer?
Yo, man, everything is good, man. You know what?
What's up?
When I moved out here, I put my DJ equipment in storage, but I'm gonna send you a soundbite. I'm gonna send it to your email.
It gotta be that Black Rob, man. But go
I
ahead.
of course, I got Black Rob. Come on, man. I got everything. We talking about like 30,000 songs. But yo, I was just listening to you guys. Was just really filling me in on shit that I don't know for the newer version of boxing. And it's kind of complicated. It's kind of, but I'm thinking like I don't think Tank is really giving a damn about another 40 million. I think basically now he wants to retire undefeated. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hello?
I don't believe that.
Yeah, well, I mean, cause this is the only fighter that I ever heard complain about somebody setting him up to lose.
That was a long time
I
ago.
mean, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I know, but I heard it. That was the Rolly. Wasn't that the Rolly fight? Rolly Romero.
Pedraza.
Say what?
Pedraza fight.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, for me, that's kind of underachieving to me. Not that Tank is an underachiever, but I would think that he would get, download all the information and go after whoever Mayweather's setting him up with. But I don't know, because Mayweather could be a mogul. He might not even have his whole brain on his fighters, because I don't see a whole lot of his fighters except for Tank. There was one other fighter. I haven't seen him.
Tank ain't his fighter.
Well, he was. I mean, now he's still
was
with
Top Rank.
Right, but Tank was under management of Mayweather, but now you still see what's old boy that's been with Mayweather for years? He's still around. Yes, Leonard Ellaby is still around. Tank. So I think they still got something going. But for the most part, I was just kind of learning from you guys today. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I don't think that Crawford-Spence 2 is going to make as much. It's going to do 650,000. I don't think Haney and Stevenson is going to get past 50,000 pay-per-views. I don't think. I mean, Haney is a box office draw a little bit, but Stevenson, he's not that big of a box office draw yet. Not yet. What you think about that, Stevenson?
Jay, that's your time. I think you need to check how you connected, because you still got the radio playing in the back, and then we hearing ourselves. You feel me? So it's not a pleasant experience. James Benitez, what up?
Yo, Ness, you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yo, man, what the fuck you was talking about, man? Said Haney Shakur do 50,000, man. Yo, call it tripping today, man. Yo, anyways, man. Yo, man, shout out to you, man. Shout out to Brandon, man, for getting Dan Raphael on the show, man. That was a damn good interview and everything, man. I agree with majority of the shit that he said, man, until he said that Boo Boo was a recognizable name or some shit like that over
I mean,
Morrell.
more than Morrell, he not lying.
I mean, man, come on, my nigga, man. You know, niggas don't really know who the fuck Boo Boo is, man. They hear like he's some urban legend or whatever the fuck, but they don't even know who his biggest fights are in his whole career, man. And if they were to actually look at who his biggest fights was in his career, they would reevaluate Boo Boo, man. I mean, sure, Boo Boo was an Olympian, you know, this, that, and the third or whatever, man. But come on, man, he really ain't done shit to deserve this much praise to be this known, man. I mean, I think Morrell has a better trajectory overall, but Boo Boo, man, Boo Boo's like yesteryear. If you want to keep it real, like Ness,
He's
man,
still
like
more known than Morrell though. Like he's more recognizable to boxing fans. So it's about pay-per-views and selling tickets. Morrell don't even
Alright,
really
so
got a
when they're gonna
personality like that.
but Ness, how you gonna market this pay-per-view when you be like, man, that's the dude that fought Willie Nelson. That's the dude that fought Montez Fox. Compared to this dude right here that's knocking shit out the park and damn near killed the nigga in the ring. Come on, Ness. Let's be real. You know Morrell's more marketable than Boo Boo at this point, man. If you say anything else, you capping. Other than that, man, I like the shit that Regis was talking about and everything. I'm looking forward to seeing him fight Devin Haney, even though I think Haney's going to have a little one-sided. I just want to see if Regis can actually surprise me. Spence, that shit might do 350, but it's probably gonna be stolen by another 600,000 again and everything, because we all know damn well the Bud versus Spence should have did over 1 million buys.
Word,
because
man.
it was probably the best fight in boxing that we actually had in at least the past 7 years. But we know niggas stolen this shit. But it is what it is, man. I like your points, man. I like the interview and I like the content as always, man. I'm gonna fall back and let these other callers through. But for real, man, ask these callers who the fuck Boo Boo's biggest fight is and everything, man. And they gonna tell you they don't know. If they take 5 seconds longer to answer, they box wrecking it, and I'm out.
All right. Appreciate you, champ. Who we got on Discord? Don't forget you can join us.
Stop the fight, and thankfully it is over.
Don't forget y'all can join us on Discord where the conversation continues even after the show. We got TBV's People's Champ. What up?
Yo, Ness, how's my audio?
Straight.
Oh, I ain't have to jump out and jump back in. That's what's up. Wishy-washy ass shit. First and foremost, thank you for another great show. I came in halfway through the Dan interview, but I'm gonna go back and listen. Dan's usually a pretty knowledgeable guy, one of the guys I like in the sport as far as journalists. It's pretty knowledgeable, so I'm gonna go check that out, the whole thing. I gotta disagree with my brother Jay Benitez, man. I agree with all the points he's saying about Andre, but I'm happy Andre's finally getting this opportunity. So for one, his fans, the few fans he has, can finally shut the fuck up about him being ducked. And for two, we can finally see what he's made of and what kind of merit he's had. Because, I mean, we've heard that he's great. We've heard about these skills, but, he's always had this notion that he can't get the big fight. So now that he can get the big fight, I'm excited to see, is he all that his fans claim he cracked up to be. So I'm not opposed to this. We finally get to see it. I mean, for years we heard that Bud fought shitty competition and Bud his resume was trash, and look what he just did. He just decapitated Errol Spence. So shout out to Andre for getting this opportunity. Make the best of it though, Andre, because if you don't look good and you get your ass whooped, then you just proved everyone right these years. So I hope he does pretty well. I think it's a decent fight. I'm picking Benavidez to just, maul him as usual. As far as Errol Spence and Bud, it does about half of what it did, 250 to 300,000. There's going to be no casual appeal to this fight. I mean, all the casuals saying you get your ass whooped for 8 rounds, Errol Spence. So, you can't sell the casuals on watching this again. So you'll get your diehard Errol Spence fans tuning in if the, Errol Spence dick riding channels can come up with a good narrative on why he should do better this time. They'll come up with a good excuse. They already pitching the glove gate. They're pitching baby mama gate and water. They'll come up with a reason to galvanize Errol Spence fans on why he can win this rematch, similar to the way they did Wilder for the third fight. And similar for Wilder for 3, Errol Spence is gonna get his ass kicked again. So yeah, it'll do about half. It ain't gonna do more. It ain't gonna do close to what they did. It's gonna do, like I said, it's gonna do about 300,000, maybe 250, if that. But only thing's gonna help Earl Spence, like I said before, is if he brings the fully loaded Desert Eagle in the ring. No matter what weight class this fight is in, he's gonna get his ass whipped. So hopefully my TBV brethren, take my advice and go with skills over narratives this time, because when you go with skills over narratives, you won't be disappointed any of the time when it comes to these fights. So yeah, Errol Spence is gonna get his ass kicked again. It's gonna do about half the numbers. And like I told you before, as far as the Haney Shakur, I can see it from both ways. I can see it from Devin Haney's way, where he's saying, I took the risk, went to Australia to get the big fight. So you should be able to do the same. I understand that. I can see it Bill and Devin's way, but I can see it in Shakur's way. I'm fucking 2-time, 2-weight division champion, former unified. You ain't gonna give me no regular ass mandatory split. Treat me like I'm one of the hottest names in the sport, which you is. So you ain't gonna treat me like you treat everybody else. And I can see it that way too. All in all, I just want the fucking fight to get made because it's a great fight. And like I said, I'm kind of in the middle on that. Hopefully they can get the business done and we can get the fight. But like I said, I can see it from both ways. I'm kind of split on how I feel about
I
that.
don't even.
Because I agree. I mean,
I'm not
I don't know.
happy. I'm
Hopefully they
not
get the shit
happy.
done.
I'm
I
not
hope they can
happy.
get the shit done at the end of the day. But all in all, that's my call, man. Like I said, TVV, as far as Errol Spence and Bud Crawford, go with skills over narratives this time. Errol Spence is going to get his ass whipped at 160, 168, 154. It don't matter. He can't beat Bud. Unless they let him come to the ring with a fully loaded Desert Eagle. But that's my call, TVV. I'm out. Y'all have a good one, man.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with that. But whatever, man. It is what it is. He ain't hear me when I was trying to cut him off. But to be a Bud fan, a long time Bud fan, to hear that Earl did the heavy lifting, you know, the fact that Bud got a belt when he did that fight. We talking about 25% plus all the belts, man. Like, I don't even get what world y'all live in. But I'm glad Dan agrees with me. He been doing this shit for a long time. Like, and we might never see that again in history, where an undisputed champ offers someone a shot at undisputed with 25% of the pot. But we'll see. We all gonna keep watching boxing. We'll see how often that happens again. Q, what up? Q, what up? Q and North.
Oh shit, hello? Yo,
Yo.
you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, what's going on? Yo, I think they bugging out, man. Like, I think Shakur do decent numbers. Shakur all over the place. Like, I'm from Newark, obviously. I'm from Jersey, so all everybody talk about to me is Shakur. What's up, Shakur? What's going on, Shakur? So like, I know at least Jersey gonna turn up. Like, I know everybody gonna have a fight party. Not streaming it, everybody gonna order it. Like, so I know he's gonna do decent buys, especially against Dev. Like, but it seems like Dev ain't trying to fight him anyway right now. As far as Spence and Crawford, I think that fight gonna do good numbers too, cause everybody who's saying Crawford gonna smoke him, call it as just called in, he not gonna watch the fight. Come on, everybody gonna watch the fight. Everybody gonna watch the fight again. Maybe not the same amount of casuals gonna watch it, but what casuals said and ordered that fight in their house? They didn't. They went to their homie house that no boxing that ordered the fight. So just because a lot of casuals watched it, don't mean that the casuals is just ordering on pay per view. Like, I think it might not do 650, but it probably do four, maybe five. But everybody's still gonna show up to watch the fight. Like, especially if Earl still like looking good, the training camp looking good, or whatever the case may be. Everybody gonna show up to watch the fight. And what else is I talking about? Boo Boo and Benavidez. That's a good fight. I think everybody kind of acting like they know how that fight gonna play out, but I don't know how that fight gonna play out. I don't know if Benavidez gonna walk through him, because it took a lot for Benavidez to walk through Plant. I think Plant showed that he got the skills to be at the top, but he don't got the durability to be at the top. Like, he outboxed Canelo for most of the fight, didn't have the durability to last the whole fight. He outboxed David Benavidez for a lot of the fight, didn't have the durability to get through to the end of the fight. So, like, he could outbox David Benavidez and then show that he got the durability that Plant didn't show he had. Like, David Benavidez can get outboxed. Like, I don't even think that's jumping out the window, saying that David Benavidez could get outboxed by Boo Boo. And if he can't press Boo Boo out and pressure him out and get him out of there, I don't see why everybody acting like they know what's going to happen, just because they might be mad at Boo Boo from not having the best fights, or from when he dropped out of the Charlo fight, they think he's lame or whatever the case may be. You can't say that, like, he can't outbox David Benavidez. I think it's highly probable that he's going to outbox David Benavidez. So we'll see. I wish that fight wasn't on pay-per-view, though. I don't think that's a pay-per-view fight, just because, like, Boo Boo not really that known. He known to us, which I think we all gonna want to see that fight. But it's one of them shits where, like, I stream it, and if my stream cut off, fuck, I catch the replay. But it's some fights where you like, I'm not streaming that, because that's how I be feeling. If my stream cut off, I'm gonna be pissed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and spend this bread on this. Like, even fights that's not big, like, if I really want to see it, I think some people might just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna stream. So that should just be a regular Showtime fight, and let them get their money however they get their money when it's a regular fight. I don't really know how that works. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got, because I was kind of in and out listening to y'all. I'm at work right now, so I couldn't hear the whole conversation what everybody's talking about. That's my call.
All right, Champ, appreciate you. Let me get to these super chats before I get to this next call. I got a member for 31 months on that Champ level. 3 fire emojis. Salute Jordan Baker in Florida. We got Real Boxing TV, $2. Let Dan cook. With 3 Hardin smoke emoji. You know, smoke coming out the nose. Yo, I thought I did let him cook. I ain't cut him off either, man. Y'all better fall back on me, man. Niners by none, bar none, $2. He put about 20 fire emojis. We got 7 Jimmy Rivera, $20. I'm gonna drop a bomb for that. He says, whoever thinks Davis can't move up and beat Crawford at 147 is dumb as fuck. Davis may not have fought the bigger names at 35, but this a big money prize fight. How can Bud say Davis is too small when he moved up from 135 himself? I love the fight too, man. I just hope more people make it happen, because, again, we didn't get to ask Dan that, but, like, motherfucking Tank made $40 million. Who is bringing Tank $40 million again? Only a super fight like that. Only a fight where motherfucker think his head gonna get knocked off. And that's Bud. Y'all know it and I know it, but we gonna let that manifest. It's gonna bubble. It's gonna bubble. And when it's all said and done, they gonna remember I brought that shit up. Me and Brandon, though. It's really Brandon in Cincinnati. High and Low Sports Central, $2. Boxing Voices More. Salute. Jonathan Lambarena, faced with tears of joy. Ness, go see what Regis posted about the Haneys. We've already screen shared it and played the audio and everything here. And we got Aldi, $2. Andre getting whooped. First super chat ever. Celebrating. Salute for breaking that wallet, spending them $2 with us. We got Young Pablo. What up, champ? Member for 8 months on that champ level? Yo, Ness, what's the Discord link? I got you right now. This is the Discord link and the phone number if you want to call using your phone right now. I got it in the live chat. I'm going to go ahead and pin it, actually. Make it nice and easy. Before we get to these calls, I do want to remind you about my sponsor, KenichiBear.com. Head on over to KenichiBear.com. Get yourself a set of Hibernation 5. These are Bluetooth headphones. All your favorite fighters are wearing them. Gervonta Tank Davis has the only black set out there on the market. Your favorite caller, 3-time caller of the year, CYP has a set. Mad Bet 100 in Kansas City who calls in, he has a set. So call in because we be doing live raffles here where we give away a set of Kenichi Bears. But you can also head on over to their site on www.kenichibear.com. That's KENICHIBEAR.com. Now remember, these are also a gaming headset, right? So you can put the detachable mic to get on your Xbox or your PlayStation and do your thing with Call of Duty and you know, all that stuff. If you got kids, they want to play Roblox with these. So get your set, give it away, stocking stuffers, support your favorite show, help me stay on the air, help me continue to do 2 episodes a day, bringing you that fire. We got the producer back, so we're getting you those interviews. Support the show. Buy a set of headphones. Not only that, remember that the proceeds go to the amateur that you see in the video. That's Carter, and he created the company, and this helps him get to his amateur fights and potential future professional fights. We got registered nurses, RNS1. What up?
Yo, Ness, what up?
What up?
Chilling, man. Yo, you had Dan Raphael on your show?
We did.
I caught the show. Where would I find it? On this show earlier or?
It's on YouTube. This episode, just rewind.
Right, bet. Yo, so yeah, man, when I watched the fight with my father-in-law who's 81. He was telling me about Joe Louis, Ezra Charles, and my mom's even watched it. She's 75. We used to watch the fights in the 70s, kid, on closed circuit. Ali, we used to watch stuff on the Wild World of Sports, HBO when you had the antenna. So it was real good, man. You know, I really enjoyed it. You know, I just wish that, you know, these guys would have got that million something pay-per-view because they deserve that, man. You know? But it was fun watching it, you know, going back, man. I wish you could hear some of the stuff he's saying about back in the days boxing, man. It's just, you know, just to have talk to somebody like that, it's just insane, man. Especially when you're a big boxing fan. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go rewind, Ness. Keep up the good work, brother.
All right, champ. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the kind words and thank you for checking in. I see you, Dan the man. Man, be going viral on that Twitter. Let me see what we got over here. We going out to the 714 Orange County. Who we got? Uh-oh. This look like we got ourselves a new caller. No. That's 774. That's Georgie Porgy in the house. What up, Boston?
Hey, yo, how do I sound?
You straight.
Mic check, nigga. Yo, give me that crow. Be marinating that Spencer crow, man.
Oh, you pick Spence?
Yeah, yo, I told you fucking... I was talking all that shit. That bold man gonna throw the towel on the whole night in the championship round. But it is what it is, man. Hey, yo, I might sound like I hate it, bro, but fuck it. Here, I must say in this. I must say, man. Is this man in the bottle or what?
Who?
What you mean who? It's Spence.
Is who on the bottle, bro? What are you talking about?
Man, the man look all discombobulated out there. What you mean? Like they switched my guy. At the last minute, somebody switched my guy, bro.
Yeah, I don't know
No
what you
reflexes,
mean,
no
man.
nothing.
I don't know what you mean. You know, he just ran up against, one great fighter met another great fighter, man.
Now, on the positive side, bro, Crawford look great.
Word.
Man look great. Now he's sitting on the throne, bro. Now he can ask whatever he want to ask for. Ain't nobody can tell him shit now. Even me hating for so many years. Nobody, everybody shut the fuck up, take a back seat. The man is driving.
Unless he fight
That's
Tank,
that.
then he not the A side though. We all know that.
Who?
You heard me, bro.
Who you saying?
I said Tank. Unless he fights Tank, then he's not the A side.
Man, that's just dreaming. That ain't happening.
I mean, I know, but people probably thought it was a dream when Duran jumped up. You know what I'm saying? Bro, what you mean the Discord link don't work? I'm just grabbing that. That's a fresh link I'm grabbing and putting in there. So if it don't work, it's something that y'all doing. Like, I'm literally grabbing this right here. Go ahead, bro. I hear you.
But Tank is not the same mentality. Tank is about that paper.
Yeah,
and you
that
know
was
what I'm saying? He's not
before.
the same character.
Listen, my friend. That was before he made $40 million. How do you make $40 million again? Who? You can't fight Isaac Cruz and make $40 million. You can't even fight Devin and make $40 million. You can't even fight Shakur and make $40 million.
Back City, bro. TBB, bringing the real, man. Yo, everybody out there, shout out to everybody who support with the super chat. Really important. They come up. Anything that you can do for TBB, yo, keep the spirit alive. Lovely.
Like, I wish.
Gotta go. Peace out.
Oh my fucking God. Listen to me.
Go ahead. I'm here.
No,
go
not
ahead,
you.
nigga.
Not
go
you.
Ahead.
Not you. I was going to say I wish something boxing, but then I bust this out of the jaw. And this is the grower is nature's chemistry. And this right here is grapes and cream. You feel me? I'm gonna just go like this. I can't show it for too long because they be acting funny. But this is what you see, right? Head on over to Hardin. Stop playing them fucking games. If you in Las Vegas, don't forget to stop at Hardin. Get that 15% off. Go over, meet Stephanie or Kiki. Stop at Hardin. The dispensary's open till midnight. Let them know Ness sent you, and go get you some grape and cream. Cause damn, I'm about to hit this and definitely have a dream. You feel me? Like, whoa. I wish I could show you the crystals on this, the motherfucking trichomes. You feel me? It's about to be bananas. I know this is gonna be flavorful. Once again, head on over to Hardin, right here in Las Vegas. Anytime you're here for the big fight or you're here for the shows, you're here to gamble, you just ladies' night out, men's night out. Come on, edibles. Feel me? They even got THC pills, juices, everything. I'm dead ass. So make sure you tell them TBV sent you so you get 15% off, man. What up, champ? Hendricks. Nike Hendricks. All right, we don't hear you, champ. We don't hear you. We gonna go to. Oh, that's my man's in them. That's Al in the Bay. What up?
Yo, what's up?
What up? What up?
Shout out
What
to
up?
TBV. Yeah, Danny ain't working today?
No more afternoons for Danny. We trying something new. He in the gyms every day, and we gonna see what that does for the channel. You feel me? He gonna be uploading, doing videos in the gym. He'll do the podcast in the morning. I'll do the podcast in the evening. Solo dolo, Scarface, no Manolo.
Okay, that's all I grind. Yeah, man, they keep, it's like Shakur. It's like if he wanted to fight, he'll just take the fight. Like, yeah, he want more of the money, but it's like, I don't know, like other than state and maybe some of the mid is like, where else is he selling out? You know? So, you know, that's like another knock on him is like, he's not really selling out like that other than in his local area. You know, he don't come to the West Coast and sell out. I don't think the fight he had in Vegas sold out.
I mean, I think he did
So
10,000. I think he did 10,000 with Valdez in Vegas.
But did it sell out though?
I mean, bruh,
I don't think it sold out.
10,000 is comparable with early tank numbers. 10,000 is comparable with Ryan Garcia San Antonio numbers. 10,000 is nothing to bullshit. Like, that's decent numbers, bruh. And that's in Vegas.
That's great numbers. That's great. That's great numbers. I don't fault that. That's great numbers. But you know, it's like,
I mean,
you know,
Dev
also
only
he had
did.
Valdez. It's
But
like,
listen,
a
Dev.
lot of Mexicans probably showed up.
Okay, but Dev only did 4,000 more with Loma.
So they're around the same. They're around the same ballpark.
Word.
You know.
Word.
But yeah. Yeah. That Tank and Ryan, that was like a 1 in a million. Like, you know, everything had to be lined up for them to make that much. You know, and it was just lined up, one thing after another was just lined up perfectly for them. You know, so I wouldn't set the bar that high for $1 million, because that's unbelievable pay-per-view numbers. You know,
You wouldn't set the bar that high for $1 million versus who though? Who we talking about?
you know, because you keep saying he made $40 million, he made $40 million, but you know, he made $40 million on Ryan Garcia. You know, he didn't make $40 million for himself. You know, it wasn't like
he
a
made
no-name
40
person,
million.
He made $40 million.
He made 40 million on his own. Ryan made 30 million. So, and that's plus. That's plus. That's 40 plus and 30 plus, according to Rayfield. So I don't know, bruh. I'm just saying, I never seen Floyd make his highest payday, then stop and just keep making that same payday. Just like I never seen Canelo do that. Like, the money is what motivates them to do the big fight. Like, look at Earl's purses.
Yeah.
Earl's biggest purse is Crawford. So he been going up.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, so whoever his next fight is, if it don't reach that bar, then it was just.
But it don't have to. It don't
I
have
hate to say it was a fluke.
Champ, it don't have to, because if he fight Isaac Cruz next and do 350,000 pay-per-view buys, let me just do some math for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? 350,000 at 80. We gonna do it at 80. We ain't gonna do 85. That's $28 million. That means they could guarantee Isaac Cruz, which they not. They not giving Isaac Cruz $3 million. They not giving him $3 million. They not giving him $3 million. Like, we know that. All right? And that's just pay-per-view. That ain't got nothing to do with Tank putting them asses in seats, doing another motherfucking $3-4 million in gate. Man, y'all tripping, man. Y'all, all right, whatever. We'll see. We'll see. Who this? Trees, Toledo, Ohio. You know what the fuck going on?
Yo.
What up?
You know what the fuck going on, man. Hey, I ain't gonna hold you. I got to tune in earlier and shit to hear the Dan Rayfield shit. Hey, I'm happy that he got some sense, man. I'm happy that he shot that Tank shit down, man. I like
I
his
mean,
thinking,
he ain't
man.
really shoot it. He ain't really shoot it down. He said he would like to see him fight another welterweight first, or fight a Devin or somebody first. That's all.
Exactly.
what I've been screaming for the last.
Yeah, but
I
that's
don't
because
even
he
know how
don't
long I've been calling.
believe. That's because he don't believe. And that's what I'm saying.
It ain't even about believe.
Tank could
It's
skip
not about
all that.
believing, man.
He could skip all that, fight Crawford, and make everybody a believer on that night.
Bro, it's not about believing, bro. I can't even feel. I feel like he shouldn't even be thrown into an opportunity like that if you're not even facing the top competition in your division, my guy. It's like that shit. I don't know, bro. It's like I don't know. Only motherfucker who can demand a fight against Crawford to me that's of a lower division is a motherfucker who got a belt. Haney, Teofimo, names like that can demand this shit. Tank. You talking
Tell your
numbers, bro.
kids
I
them
ain't
eat them
with that
belts,
number
man.
shit.
Tell your kids
We
to eat
talking,
them belts, man. Cause ain't nobody else gonna do nothing with them belts.
man. I ain't talking about. It ain't even about the belts, bro. It's about competition. It's about comp. You're not even fighting. Like when I say legacy, you be thinking when I say legacy, I'm thinking about the belt. It ain't even about the belts, bro.
He bodied
I'm a
Ryan.
fighter. I'm a fighter. I'm telling you I'm a fighter, bro. I go by your name. Like I'm the type of nigga who, if you got a name in these streets, come see me. If you feel like you can beat me, come see me. That's how Tank not like. I don't feel like Tank is like that. Everybody knows Tank got a big name. Tank know he got a big name, but he don't. He been trolling like a motherfucker. I done heard him talk about Josh Taylor. Knock him out. Break Terrence Crawford jaw. Beat up Devin Haney. If George Kambosos just hold the belt, just hold him. He ain't done none of the shit he be talking, bro. That's 4 names out of names that he ain't never fought.
He took out the money fight first before anybody. I told you, I don't know how long you've been listening, but my phrase was, it's a race to Ryan Garcia because he was the most lucrative fight and the most vulnerable link. It was a race to Ryan. Now that Ryan's out the way, can't nobody take the super fight from Tank. You gonna see. I'm telling you, I'm predicting nothing but great fights. You'll see.
Man, listen. If that's
you
the
can't
case,
make $40 million and go backwards,
if that's
man.
the case, then Tank should. I'm gonna tell you something. Because Jake Paul, I feel like Jake Paul was trolling your man's Tank and his fight with the Nate Diaz shit. He rolled out on the Tank. If that's the case, fuck it. We talking money fight. Tell Tank to throw on some weight. Fuck it. Get in there with Jake Paul. And if that's all we care about is money, fuck it.
Come on,
if
man.
that's your logic, man.
That's too many divisions. Too many divisions, man.
Hey, you said go up. Fuck it. He pound for pound. Let you tell it.
Yeah, all right, but then you talking about cruiserweight, bro. Like you just want to see him lose, or you just want to make a joke.
He fighting the Jake Paul. Don't do that. If he lose against Jake Paul, he not who you said he was anyway. So don't do that.
Come on, bro. Yo, anybody could land a punch. Anybody could land a punch.
Nah, cut that out. So if that's the case, then I want to see Clarissa and Jake Paul then.
Yeah,
if you been talking that shit, like
that's the bell, champ. You tripping. Anybody could certainly land a punch though. Let's see what we got on these super chats. I just got somebody come through. James Benitez, $2. What's better, name in the streets or 40 mil? What's better, name in the streets or 40 mil? 40 mil. 40 mil. 40 mil. But that's how he gonna get them name in the streets, because that's it. There ain't no more. Listen, y'all, let me show y'all my face, because y'all think this is some sort of fucking game. Listen, there's no more fake fights. There's no more $40 million easy fights. That's over. It's over. You know what I'm saying? Whatever him and Dev bring in, if they can't crack a mil, and they crack that 650, they bring in that 59 mil. You feel like that's not an easy fight. Core's not an easy fight. Like Ryan was the easy fight in all of our eyes. He had his opportunity to prove that he wasn't an easy fight, and he went out easy. He went out easy. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But yeah, I just don't know where Tank gonna get another 40 from. You feel me? You're gonna need a nice fight for that. I got Nike Hendricks one more time. What up? If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and smash the thumbs up. Come on, man. I don't get no thumbs up. I'm ending this shit. Nike, what up? Your phone ain't working today. You need to jump out all the way up out the space and come back in. Like leave completely, close the app completely. You feel me? If you're on an iPhone, swipe that app all the way up, close out, jump right back in. We going out to Borough City E while you do that. What up?
Yo, back
You.
off in here, man. Man, listen. If Tank wanted, the only way Tank making that goddamn, I don't know if he gonna touch 40 again, because people underestimate just how big of a superstar Ryan really is. Like we gotta accept the metrics. The 9 million Instagram followers came into play, and they showed up. Like the only way I could see him getting that kind of money again, man, he gotta fight. People not calling for this fight, but I am. I'm telling you, he should fight Tio. That shit would set the world. But can you imagine a promotion from T.O. Daddy and Leonard Ellerby arguing on motherfucking stage, bro? Like, that shit would be crazy. That fight right there could do probably not 1 million, but I bet it do 800,000. Like 800,000. I want him to fight Bud. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if Leonard Ellerby and them in the business of fighting for legacy like that, man. Like, they go up there to fight Bud, man. That's a big time fight. That ain't just no money grab or none of that. Like, bruh, like, and I ain't saying it's impossible because styles make fights, matchups make fights. So the triangle theory don't work about, oh, well, he beat the shit out of Earl. Tank could be too little, because you never know, man. He might have harder problems catching Tank the way he caught Earl, being that he's so small, it's the smallest target. And like a lot of people just writing Tank off in that fight. Like, I'm gonna be real, man. After this, like, Bud made me a believer. I no longer go by resume no more, Ness. Like, I'm done. I no longer go by resume. They like until they get in the ring, that is what proves who the better man is. Like, until they get their asses in the ring, I go from there. Like, I just can't see it no other way, but it's really nobody. Maybe him and Devin crack 700, 500. I don't even think him and Devin do close to $1 million or nothing like that. Nothing crazy to get him 40 million. Like, I ain't know, man. Tank gonna have to go up a couple weight classes to get 40 million, because, like, people gotta believe it's a 50-50 fight.
Dev gotta look dominant.
To
he gotta look super dominant in that Regis fight for people to think he got a shot to beat Tank. And they gotta play that Regis fight up too, because Regis used to call out Tank. Tank never made it, he never paid attention to him. So it's like, yo, I'm fighting the dude you wouldn't fight again. You ain't want to fight Loma. He was bullying you. I took care of your light work. Regis was.
He's in no condition to continue.
Hey, listen. I had a counterpunch from earlier that went through late again. They cut the Blog Talk Radio off as soon as I sent it.
Go for it.
You see it?
I see yesterday's.
It's another one today. Check it for today.
Same Cash App, because it ain't there. I'm on that.
A different one. It's a different one.
No, I don't see it. But don't worry about it. You'll get it right. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll get you right. But yeah, man, listen. I ain't gonna disrespect Tank, and I ain't gonna disrespect Tank, but it's time to start it's time to really start putting some pressure on Tank to make some of these big fights. You made one with Ryan, and you drugged the man by the bumper of the car to make him do it. Like, all the man had to take your weight clauses and all the money and all the stipulations. Like, Tank got to do something now to let us know he's for real. He more than just a cash cow. And I ain't saying like we don't think he's for real. Everybody sees the talent. Everybody sees the power, the explosiveness. We want to see Tank in a real dog for a real fight. Like, a fight we don't know what's going to happen. These easy money grabs he keep taking, like, it's getting played out, man. It's getting played out. It's like, you got Regis used to call you out. You scared to fight Loma. You and Ryan been Devin mandatories. I have never seen where two mandatories rather fight each other before they fight for the championship. Like the undisputed championship at that.
Yeah, but
I
that was
can't
for
make this shit
money.
up.
That was for money. You know that was for money. They wanted to fight each other because of the money they brought to the table when they met.
Yeah, I know, but still, though, man. Like, when it's gonna be about the glory sometime? Nobody making more money than Tank from. I mean, take Earl out the equation and Crawford off of his last fight. Name somebody from 168 on down that make the money Tank make. It is nobody. It is no like you already top paid. Like you can't. He can make more money, but as far as being top paid, he always gonna fall in that category. I'm ready to see him in the. I would love to see him and Keel put that shit on the line one time.
The
We
thing
got
is,
Keel
listen.
talking about.
Thing is, Mayweather got 20-something million dollars to fight Mosley. So you want Devin to fight Shakur or Tank for what? You see, Tank got 40-something million dollars to fight Ryan. You know what I mean? And keep going down the line. Mayweather got 41 million to fight Canelo. Like, of course
God
you
damn.
gonna get in there with them dudes, man. Like y'all want
Yeah.
T.O. I feel bad for T.O. He got 1.3 for Loma. Then he got another million and some change for Taylor. Like
For Josh Taylor.
he out here getting raped.
And that's why I'm calling for T.O. to be in the big fight. Like T.O. getting raped, man, and it ain't right. T.O. to me, T.O. got a better resume than damn Devin. Like T.O. got the best resume from them 35. That's my call, man.
I mean, it's definitely an argument. Devin is an undisputed champ. T.O. was a unified champ with two former undisputed champ on his resume that he's beaten. So there's an argument. LV Slugger, what up? LV, what up? If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. We've been rocking out for 2 hours and 40 minutes now. Second show, we do 2 shows every single day if you're new to the channel. We got the 6 a.m. in the morning, getting you through your work week, Breakfast Club of Boxing. We usually wrap that up anywhere from 6 to 11 a.m., sometimes more, 5.5 hours, 4.5 hours, depending on how great the subject matter. And then we're back here, 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time to about 7 p.m. We going out to Nike Hendricks yet again.
Yo.
Yo, finally, what up?
Alright, yeah, man. My shit was tripping early. I don't know what was going on. But shouts out to you, Ness. Shouts out to Danny. You know, shouts out to the Boxing Voice. Like, share, subscribe, do it all. Man, that last caller, I don't know, man. He was talking some sense until he started talking crazy. Like, yeah, like you said, man, they got to get paid, man. But to have a big money fight, you got to be in there with the right guy. Really, shit. Like Ryan was the right guy and Tank was the right guy. So that brought a record-breaking revenue. So I get that. I get that getting paid. Now he got paid, like you said. He got the money fight. So now it's better fights and it's gonna bring money, cause then it's gonna be better competition. Now they gonna be like, oh yeah, who Tank fighting now? Cause he did Ryan like that, and everybody gonna want to see. But Crawford-Spence too. Oh man, Crawford. I see it. Crawford taking it, but I see Spence getting some more resilient this time. But Crawford just won't take it. UD, cause it went 9, but it should have been stopped earlier than that. But it went 9, so I see Crawford with a UD, and Benavidez-Andrade. I like Andre. I like Andre to box his damn head off, man. Andre, it might be the jab that kill him. He can't get past for real. Andre nice as a motherfucker, man. Motherfuckers sleep on him. Hey, that's one guy they really sleep on who's nice. Andre is nice. And y'all know I'm going for Haney over Prograis. Haney for double time champ, man. So, but that's my call. Let's keep putting in this hard work.
All right, champ. Appreciate you. We got Alan up next. What up?
Hey, TBV.
What's up?
I'm a little off topic here, man, but the one of the callers was talking about Tank, but I think the fight that he should, actually take next is that Matias fight, man, and do it in New York. Puerto Rican's gonna show up, man. They're gonna sell no matter what. And he's already fought this year many times. You know what I mean? So him fighting again this year, like you said, your couple other shows that it'll be good for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? And plus, he can take that belt once he got the belt and he's at 140. What I think is gonna happen, all those fighters at 140 are gonna settle business with each other, and Tank will step in last and take whatever is on the table, like whoever has everything, and he'll take it away from them. You know what I mean? And Puerto Ricans will show up for Matias. I know they will. If they do that fight in New York, in Madison Square Garden or in Barclays Center, they will show up to see the Tank versus Matias fight. They will. So I think people are tripping about that because who else would he fight? He's not gonna fight Pete Booten. He ain't gonna fight nobody else. It's not. Like who? Who's popping right now? Tell me, Ness.
For
I know
Tank?
Haney and Shakur, but come on, man. You know what's going on. It makes sense.
But you asking for
Hello?
Tank?
Yeah, Matias and Tank.
Yeah. I don't even know where is Matias?
What do you mean? Where is he?
What do you mean? Where is he?
He's training, man. I follow him on Instagram. He's training in the gym all the time, and he's hungry. He's hungry.
Oh,
And he's
I
gonna fight.
mean, I couldn't tell. I haven't seen him at any fights. I haven't seen any interviews. Like I didn't know he was hungry.
Man, that's the thing about Puerto Rican fighters, man. Like Miguel Cotto, like you barely saw Miguel Cotto interviews, man. That is one bad thing. Like they don't know how to get out there, man. That's one thing about it. I know Xander Size knows how to get out there for sure, and he's on top rank. People know about him, but that's him and Berlanga. But he's from the island for real. Like he's very Puerto Rican. Like he is strictly from there, Like he doesn't really like put his stuff out there like that.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely need the real Puerto Ricans from over there to support him. Then
But they will show up. If they promote that fight like I said in New York, they will do it.
they didn't show up for his world title fight. There was no parade when he got home. Tio's not even born in Honduras, and they did all that. So I mean, Sandor Martin got that. I don't know. He needs a little bit of support. Right hook, southpaw. And I don't know, Stick Talk Boxing, you said you want to call in. I don't see you unless this is you.
Yo,
You?
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, all right. I just sent you something, but never mind. It's on me now. What up, brother?
What up? What up?
How you been, man? Salute to you and all you do, man.
Appreciate it, man. Same old, man. Just grinding.
You make my day go by fast, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Especially with these 12-hour shows and shit. But nah, man, I just wanted to yap for a minute, man.
I really don't know what the show is about. I came in kind of late.
So we
But
had Dan Rayfield on the show, and we was just asking him on about about 9 topics. So we've been talking about 9 topics. We've been talking about obviously the fight with Crawford and Spence, the possible rematch, him fighting Zoo, him fighting Tank, him fighting Boots, him fighting Thurman. Then we moved on to Devin and Shakur to 25%. Uh, Devin fighting Prograis. The fact that Bill slipped up, said it was pay per view. Then we talked to Joshua replacement with Hellenius. We talked to Bradley talking about Mayweather would lose to Crawford. We talked about Shakur not being able to fight Vasil. Vasil possibly retiring. Shakur ended up having a fight at Isaac, a William Cepeda, a possible Jermaine Ortiz for the vacant belt for not taking the 25%. And I think we also brought up the Floyd interview where he wants Earl to move up to 68-60.
oh, but hey, before I even get to talking, I want to shout out Stick Jr., aka Venom.
Oh yeah.
You know, he lost a bet to me. And I want to shout out Son of Stick, aka Godfather 4, Mr. Lacosta Nostra himself. You know, he lost another bet to me. But yeah, I've been calling it right hook from the southpaw stance from the beginning. You know, so I'm here to gloat almost 2 weeks after. So yeah. J Max said it was gonna go down like it was, and I said it was gonna end like it was with a right hook. But anyway, so how you see so soon as Jamel get in the ring with Canelo, the WBO is gonna elevate too.
Yeah, unfortunately. Soon as the
All
bell
right.
ring.
Since Crawford say he ain't gonna be fighting too much longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it playing out like this? They putting off like it is. I believe it is entirely too soon for Errol to get in the ring in December. I think he would agree with that. He put that rematch off. Let Bud and Zoo fight in December. Let Bud take that belt. Hopefully, Mel can beat Canelo and come back down. Let them two fight it out for that 3-time undisputed, and then Errol get that rematch with Bud after that.
Yeah, I mean that's
And then that's
certainly a perfect world, and certainly a perfect world for Earl too, because he'll get a shot at undisputed in a rematch, which he walked away from because he can't make 147. So that would be great. And then you get Mel who wins and become 2-time. So then the fight with Crawford is for 2-time undisputed is versus 2 undisputed fighters that have also 2-time undisputed. So yeah, I
yes.
mean, it's just a lot there though, but that would be fantastic.
But Mel talking that shit already. He said, "Yo, I'm not done at 154. I got unfinished business."
Nah, for
You
sure.
know,
We talked about that the other day, and them legs, his fucking quads look sick, so he gonna be able to take some shots and might be able to give some shots. He certainly looks the part, but he's still moving up 2 divisions to face, a pound for pound fighter that's been on a pound for pound list. No matter what position you put him on there, he been on a list. Jesus, I don't know, man. Maybe 400 and something weeks.
yeah,
More
but
than that.
you know what Jamel has to fight for, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean history. He
he
got to
has
make
so
history.
much to gain. I think he's gonna be more than ready.
He
You
got
know, the
he
hater
got
in me say he gonna go in there and knock the motherfucker out.
I mean,
You know, but we know
I'm
that's a
picking
tall
him.
task.
I'm picking him to win. I said that. I've been picking him to win, and I'm rooting for him to win. But it's more hope than because again, it's a big weight difference and skill. Like, come on, man. Tony Harrison beat him.
Yeah, yeah, but looking at that first fight, he did. He really. I wouldn't have gave it to him in that first fight. I wouldn't call it a robbery, but either way. But that second fight before he knocked Harrison out, I had Harrison up.
But that means
So
he needs
I
two
get
fights, though. That means he
I
gonna
get
need a
that.
rematch with Canelo to get it right, because he didn't get it done on Castano first time either.
No, but what he has he has now he has a money and legacy fight all in one. So I think he's I'm hoping he's taking this as serious as he never taken anything in his life.
I hear you.
You
Me
know.
too. Me too. That's what me and you are banking on. Like bookies, they not gonna have Charlo the favorite. The writers, they not gonna say Charlo gonna win. If me and you get it right on fight night, we gonna be happy because it was an upset. But it's an upset for a reason, bro. He moving up 2 divisions to fight a pound for pound fighter that been on that list. Bro, he been on that list like 10 years.
Yeah, and Maul is fighting because he know he belongs on that list and should have been on that list. Like he already has chips on his shoulder. Just this motherfucker coming in this fight with motherfucking boulders on his shoulders. Like he has so much to prove, and
If
it's like
anything,
I
Earl
feel the person
Spence.
he,
I'm sorry.
huh?
I'm sorry. I know the audio is one way. I was just saying, if anything, I think Saturday night proved to us that it's going to take more than perseverance. Like it's going to take more than just willpower and determination. Like
Yeah.
Earl was just kept punching the wall, punching the wall, punching the wall. He never stopped to say, "Yo, this shit ain't working. What we gonna do?"
But I feel Jamel is more skilled than Earl. I hear the stories about Earl beating on him in sparring, but I believe he's more athletic and he's more skilled and more fluid.
He could
And
certainly
I feel
box,
that's
man. He could certainly box. His days with Ronnie Shields, he was a boxer. He was a good mover. He gonna need that. He gonna need that. If he go in there trying to be Triple G Canelo, he gonna get hit like Triple G and Canelo. He gonna have to get on the outside like Laura and do better than Laura, not just stay on the outside. Remember, that was a tight fight. Some people like myself, when I first watched that fight initially live, I thought Laura won. But watching it like 7 years later for the second time ever in my life, I clearly seen Canelo win. You gotta do more to take it from a guy like Canelo. You're gonna have to be on the back foot and outwork him off that back foot. It's gonna be
all
hard, man.
right.
It's gonna be hard. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
again, I'm
but
rooting
Mel,
for and I'm
he
picking
got to
him.
come back down because this man
Yeah,
called you a bitch ass nigga in front of your wife and
but do you
invited you
really
to his
want
meet.
that though? Honestly, I don't know that I want that. If you lose to Canelo, if Canelo knocks you out, then we doing the Gennady Golovkin, Kell Brook all over again. Now you're gonna come back down and go fight Earl and let him break the other side of your face. So you're gonna come back down and let Bud break the other side of
No,
your
but
face.
but if he does pull it off, he got to come back down and see him. That man invited you to his Johnson in front of his wife. That wasn't a good look.
I see what you're saying. He kind of like pointed, but I think you interpreted that way. I think maybe more Crawford was like, "I'm coming for your belt," and pointed at his waist. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't really
yeah,
know that he turned
yeah.
to
I get
Jamel
why
like,
you would say
"Yo,"
that, but
you know what I mean?
yeah. Yo,
But
yo.
yeah, no, I mean,
Oh. I see you in doing what I'm getting ready to do. But yeah, man, but I don't want to talk about that other shit. Shakur, he gonna get what he could get. That nigga. Floyd could say he could have offered him more than 25%. Would 30% been all right? They would have complained about that 30. Shakur wouldn't have stopped until 50-50.
word. According to Bill, that's what he wanted.
Mm. See, I ain't hear all that from Bill yet. And
Yeah, we had him on today.
oh wow, I missed the show today. I wasn't at work. But yeah, man. I ain't got nothing else, man. Just keep it going, man.
Appreciate
I'm
you.
done. All right, man.
All right, thank you. Shout out Stick Talk Boxing. Sent 2 counter punches. We got LV Slugger trying you for the third time. Third time.
TBV, you hear me?
I hear you finally.
Yeah, man. Trying to touch on a few of these topics real quick, man. See you talking about a lot. So, yeah, the Spence. I'm gonna start off Spence Bud. You know what I mean? Shout out to both guys. You know, man, they gave us a great event a couple of weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? I am excited to see both men back. You know, more Bud than Spence, but you know, I am excited to see Spence see what he can do after suffering his first loss, man. You know, I'm not one of the ones that was like he need to retire, nothing like that. You know, he suffered first loss, came across a better opponent, like he been saying. You know, like he said after the fight. So I just want to see how he's able to bounce back. But like I've been saying before, when we talk on this subject, man, I just feel like it's not best for him to go straight in the rematch with Bud. You know what I'm saying? Especially doing what he was doing that fight, man. It just Spence did not quit. It was no quit in him at all. You know, you can still see he was still trying to come forward, still trying to force his will on Bud, but it was just Bud just being the better boxer. He had a hard time doing it. So I just want to see where they go from here, man. Look like they probably gonna do the rematch because, like I said before, talking about this, what other option than a rematch is are they gonna get a big payday from? You know what I
Right.
mean? So I feel like both guys getting the rematch. That's probably gonna be their bigger payday.
I mean, they both could take the Thurman fight. That's the other next big payday for them.
Yeah, Thurman. I do think Thurman's how he
Thurman
talks
at
and
Thurman at
on the
54.
build up. I definitely think it could do some not 650 numbers, but definitely 250 plus. You know what I mean? But I want Thurman to get a tune up, man. Like if Errol fight Thurman, I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? Coming off a loss, Thurman ain't fought in a minute. But Bud being doing what he just did to Errol being 15 months out the ring, like why would you even set Keith up for that, man? I just feel like we're gonna set him up for failure. You know what I mean? Of course he'll get a big payday, but I just don't think it'll be competitive throwing Keith in there with Bud right now. Let him at least get a tune up in, man. At least some. You know what I mean? But I mean, if they do it, they go straight into Keith Bud and Errol don't decide to do the rematch. Bud will be the first one to stop Keith. You know what I mean? So I feel like that'll be a good name on Bud resume, being the first to stop somebody. You know what I mean? A former unified champion Keith. That'll be definitely a good name on his resume. But I just want to see how everything play out. If the fight is at 154, I don't see neither guy coming back down to 147, even with Bud being undisputed. You know what I'm saying? If he gives Spence the rematch at 154, I don't think he comes back down either. You know what I mean? So I just want to see how the shit play out, man. Uh, David Haney Prograis, I'm excited for that. Hearing that's on pay per view. I think they just gonna try to Devin coming off his first pay per view with Loma, they just gonna try to test the waters and see if Devin can come with similar numbers with this fight with Prograis.
That's the
But
bell, champ. That's the bell. I got Venom. What up?
Yo, you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
So we just talking about all the fights.
I mean, we had Dan Rayfield, so we was getting his expert opinion on multiple topics.
Okay, okay. Well, as far as the Crawford Spence, I don't know what Spence should do. I would want to see him fight a Castano or a Virgil Ortiz. I feel like the Virgil would be a good comeback for both each other, see where they both at. But I just don't know if Errol Spence could take another power punch like that in his career again. Crawford, Tim Zoo. I don't know who. Tim Zoo. You saying Tim Zoo's gonna fight Brian Mendoza?
90
So
seconds.
I don't know what Crawford can do in his career right now.
Mendoza ain't even answer me back, so when you don't answer a motherfucker back, that mean it could be true.
Yeah, they might just have to rerun the rematch him and Spence since there ain't that many options. So that's probably what they're gonna do. Benavidez and Boo Boo. I'm actually might pick Boo Boo in this fight because I wasn't that impressed with Benavidez with Plant. Like he didn't look like he looked dominated, but that was more because of Plant's like fatigueness towards the end. It's not really because of what Benavidez did. Like for some reason, I think Boo Boo, he's just a little bit better than the Plant. He'll actually like he may expose Benavidez. He might lose on the. He might get robbed. That's the only problem because he's not really a Showtime fighter like that. And Showtime wants the Canelo fight with Benavidez, so he might get robbed for some reason. I might pick Boo Boo to win that fight. And then Devin and Regis, good fight. Is it pay-per-view? I don't think so. I don't know who they're gonna put on that card to stack it. I don't think it's pay-per-view. But I got Devin winning decision, close decision, and that's it. That's my call.
All right, Venom. Appreciate you. Looks like I got. Who is this? Boston new caller. Who's this? Hello.
Yo, you there?
Yes, who's this?
All right, what's up? It's Ray, man. I'm a new caller actually, but I've been watching the show for so.
What's up, Ray?
All right, bro. So I wanted to basically call in and give my opinion on the Regis Prograis and Devin Haney fight. Listen, I had been telling all my boys, bro, over the last year that before Devin Haney would lose to a Shakur or a Tank, that he would relinquish them belts and go up to 140. I truly believe that. I just think he don't want no smoke with them, period. He doesn't even want to get in the ring with those guys, I think, because of the years of going back and forth, the heckling, all the bullshit going back and forth, and a loss to them, I feel like will just be detrimental to his fucking mental state starting off. Second of all, as far as the Boo Boo Andrade fight, he's actually from my city. One of my good friends does his strength and conditioning. He's a hell of a fighter. I'll be rooting for him in that fight. The only thing is David Benavidez is a great fighter as well. Let's not forget he's throwing 7, 8 punch combinations, getting late into these later rounds where I feel like Boo Boo starts to coast after round 4 or 5. Yeah, he gets in front of that jab. He might be able to do some damage with that, and he has a great shot, and he's actually a friend of a friend's, a really good one. But at the end of the day, I think I still go with David Benavidez with that one. And I also wanted to talk about the whole Tank situation. Like, when do we start getting back into the glory of this whole thing? This kid's made a shit ton of money. We know he's gonna chase it down, obviously, as probably anybody would. But I just feel like the business side is just starting to oversaturate everything, where we're not getting these crazy fights. I mean, we have as of late. But at the end of the day, is business gonna come in the middle of everything? Ness, you feel what I'm saying? So I'd like to see him go up to 140 and maybe get up there with a higher punching class, a little more power, and see what he can do up there with the better fighters in that in that weight class. You know what I'm saying? And my last thing is I wanted to say, man, I've been taking hits, Ness, man, all over the board. I was a huge Cool Boy Steph fan. In a way, ran through him. I was a huge Earl Spence fan. He ran through him. My actual favorite fighter is Jamel Charlo, and I'm hoping he can do something with Canelo, but I'm also smart enough to realize that he's got a tough road ahead of him, man. If Canelo, if it becomes, like you said, a punching, an inside, they're fighting inside, on the ropes a lot, it's going to be real hard for Jamel, man. He has to stay on the outside and kind of, like you said, fight off his back foot and just keep kind of countering him to break him down. I feel like that power with Canelo just gets way too aggressive going into those later rounds. And like you said, a few of his last fights with what's his name, Tony? What was his last fight again, Ness?
Castaño.
No, not Castaño. Who was that beat him prior to that? That he
Tony
only
Harrison.
lost from.
Tony Harrison.
Okay, yeah. Tony Harrison. So you seen that fight with Tony Harrison, man. He didn't break him down in a way that I feel like he can go in there and get it done with Canelo. You feel me?
For sure. Nah, I mean, that's what I just expressed, the stick talk, brother. I appreciate the call. Thank you, because I had your number there for a while. I didn't know who you were because you never raised your hand. But we got it now. Let me make sure I wrote that down. Yeah, Ray in Boston. Salute. We got boxing. Yo, how do I pronounce your name, man? You don't be like that other guy letting me say your name wrong for a year, man.
Yo, shout out TBV, the voice of the people. What up, Ness?
What's your username? What do you got there? Boxing what?
Yo, you butchered my shit last time. That was the first thing I was gonna say. It's boxing Batosai. That's how you pronounce it. It's Batosai.
Chosa.
Yes,
That's
sir.
exactly
And
what. That's why I said don't let me
it's
butcher it for
Japanese.
a
It's
year.
Japanese. Nah. Now we got it right. We got it right. Cause now we're nowhere is one of my favorite fighters, and I gotta represent for. I'm Irish and I'm black, but I love anime. And there's a boxing anime called Hajime Ippo, and now in no way is the real life version of that anime. That man is a absolute monster in the TV show. Whatever he is, I love boxing. I love whatever. I love the Japanese fighters. They're pretty cool to me because nobody gives a fuck about them. That's why I don't know. I fuck with them heavy. But where was I going with this? It's boxing, but Tosai is Japanese. But yo, what up, Ness? You reposted me on your story the other day. That was dope. That was me with the tablet eating the food, and I tagged you and Danny. That was
Bro,
dope. Fucking
anybody that posted they watching this show, we gonna repost them, man. And you do it daily, I'm reposting you daily. I appreciate everybody that listens to this show on
yeah,
an
man. Put
amazing
people
level.
on. You gotta put people on, bro. Exactly, because now people know to listen. And I'm trying to get people to tune in to hear the different shit. Yo, but fucking shout out to Dan Rayfield or whatever his name is for coming on the show. Apparently he's an OG. I don't really know him like that. I'm not a boxing historian. But why I feel like he was trying to little bro you a little bit. I feel like that was kind of crazy. Why I feel like he was trying to little bro you. He was like,
Cause
I've been doing this a long
I'm
time.
more optimistic, man. The purists of this sport don't see fantasy fights, but the truth is those are the ones that sell. It's like that's the one question I didn't get to ask. Tank made 40 million. Ryan made 30 million. Terrence Crawford made 20 something million. Who they gonna fight to make that money again? They gotta fight each other. They
That's
gotta
true.
fight those. They gotta fight
It's
big
true, bro. It's
names, man.
undeniable. He needs a big name. If he wants to make the money, he needs a big name. And people saying like another thing, I hate to be that corny guy or whatever. Like I get the glory and whatever, but Tank is all, bro. He said from the beginning he's about making money. Like he wants to make money and get out whatever. You don't. They want big names and the whatever, but Tank really just wants to make money. So whatever it takes to make money, that's the whole idea with the Ryan Garcia fight. It's about making money. He just wants to make the bread. Like he was like somebody said that he fought two Haney and Tank were both mandatory. I mean, no, sorry, Garcia and Tank were both mandatory for Haney, but they fought each other. It's like because they know what's gonna make money. That's what it's all about. Whatever. Like Tank is trying to make that bread, and you can't be mad at him for that. He's following the Mayweather blueprint. It's just I don't know, bro. It's like, but there's only a couple fights that are gonna make that money. It's undeniable. And Dan Rayfield was kind of being pessimistic about that, but that is what it is. Like you said, like the older heads, they don't be thinking optimistic. It's true. But he was trying to little bro you a little bit, and I wasn't fucking with that. I was like, yo, let Ness talk.
Yo, what's funny is I was purposely trying not to talk over him either, because these guys they hate it. You guys are in the chat like, yo, but you keep cutting them off, and it's like, all right, I'm a hold on and
Yeah,
just let him talk. But nah, man, listen. First time we
I,
had him
I,
on,
I
it was
respect it.
fun.
I respect it. Because sometimes you do be doing that, and know that, and you know you be like, bro. I don't know. I feel like in that time you had good points. Also with Danny, shout out to Danny. He's the best co-host that y'all had so far. Danny is fucking dope. Like he was kind of cutting you off when Bill was talking. Danny does a really good job on the show, and shout out to TBV. And not to disrespect any previous co-host, but shout out to Danny too.
Appreciate you, champ. Appreciate you. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you for tuning in. I see my man Michael Fox out there. What's going on, champ? Appreciate you tuning in as well. I think that's everybody. I got a couple few super chats here. We got Matt Bant 100 Kansas City. He on that champ level, $2. He said daily dose of Tanquil. Tank stops Bud with the stop sign emoji. They gonna say he was too old. Ha ha ha! Talk your talk, champ. That's a play on words. Remember, Bud said they gonna say he was wagering when I stopped him. Talking about Earl. We got Jay Swift and Dykeman. All right, then Ness. The Crawford-Spence fight is back on Showtime. I canceled my Showtime, and it was accidentally. But remember, I had that crazy rant, and I got a new credit card number, so that was the 836. I'm like, man, I got the email from Showtime, like, yo, your credit card. I'm like, nah, y'all ain't getting me no more. It's over. I'm done with you. I'm done. I'm fucking done. So I ain't even watch SoBox. I'm done, bro. Fuck that shit. What they giving me? Floyd, Crawford and Earl was on pay per view. Like, really, what am I getting over there? Plant and the Benavidez was on. I don't need their subscription to pay for those fights. Like, I'm still gonna buy them fights, but they not really giving me nothing. Like, what? It's a fight happening this week, ain't it? That nobody even cares about. It's like, damn, Michael Fox is on the line. He might care because that's his city and shit. Oh, you pressed the request too. You might care because it's one of the Russells fighting, right? So you gonna tune in? I think Emmanuel Rodriguez is fighting on Showtime, one of the Russells, and nobody else knows. They do a horrible job promoting. I'm done giving them my money. They got to get their shit together. What up, Mike?
What's good with you, Ness? How you feeling?
Chilling.
Shit, I feel you. I feel you. I just wanted to say what's up to you because you shouted me out, man. Hope all is well.
Nah, of course, man. Same with you. Anything cooking?
Uh, no, not like fight wise, not really. I'm in that team combat league, John.
I
Just trying to use
seen.
it to stay busy.
Yeah, I noticed you
Yeah,
was in that. How's that going?
it's going cool. We about to finish that up next week. You know what I'm saying? We got the semifinals. We win that. We went into championship. The team wins it. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm always looking for fights. You know, I like it. That one round thing is a little. You know, I like to go to. I can go to marathon. I'm used to that.
Mm. Yeah, man. So what you think of the big fight this past weekend? Long time
You talk
coming.
about yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I picked Bud to win. I went. I say this. I went back and forth with it for a long time, and then my final pick was Bud because of his counterpunching ability. And
Mm.
you know, and I say this, even if they fight at 54, like they might, you know, Earl might be better, and they both might be a little bigger, but you know, the skill set's gonna go up there too, and that same skill set that Bud has is the skill set needed to beat Earl. That's going up to 154 as well. So you know what I'm saying? And it's not like you know Earl has fought at 54 before and Bud hasn't. They would both be fighting at 154 for the first time. So really, it just be two overgrown welterweights against each other. It's not like going up to fight, you know, the big guys up there. That they still fight each other. So I think it would. I think you know Earl's punch resistance will be better, but the skill set that Bud has is just the one to beat him.
Mm. What about Bud and Tim Zoo 154? Because you know they're going to strip Charlo once the bell ring versus Canelo.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think I'm still gonna pick Bud. I mean, I'm a Crawford fan. I'm a Spence fan too. I think that you know, because I was picking Charlo to beat Tim Tszyu. I think he takes too long to get going, and you know, you can't let guys like Bud or Charlo, you know, hit you super clean. If you can't, especially with like Charlo, if you can't take a punch, if you got your bell rung by Terrell Boucher, he throws a good punch. But if you got your bell rung by Terrell Boucher, you probably going to sleep if that's Earl. If Jamel hit you. Now Bud, he coming up a weight class. Maybe will his power transition? Probably, to be honest. If he been knocking dudes out from 35 all the way up to 47, I don't see why I would stop at 154. I would pick Bud. I like Bud's skill set. He's a smart fighter. If he fights Zoo the way he fought Earl, I'd pick Bud.
Mm. Well, Mike, man, I appreciate you, man, coming on the show. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. You are my last caller, man. Well, actually, I got Jonathan Sims on Discord. I'm going to get to him. But thank you, man. Give everybody your social media so they know where to follow you at, champ.
Yeah, everybody can follow me on Twitter and IG at Professor Mike. Holler at me. Troll if you want to. I don't care. But 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 yeah. If you want to talk boxing and have a respectful conversation, you can hit me up on either one of those. But yeah, shout out to the boxing voice as well.
Appreciate you, champ. Appreciate you. Jonathan Sims, talk to me. North Carolina, what up?
What up, Nas? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Huh?
Loud and clear.
All right, my man. Hey, before I get popping, let me get this started off right. You know how I'm coming, Nas. We coming from Psalms today, 133. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Kind of like the boxing voice, right? Real fitting. We got people from all walks of life coming and congregating as one with one thing in common, and that's boxing. So, thank you so much for the platform, and thank you so much for spending your time with us. It's always appreciative. So, where's Danny at?
So we trying out Danny being in the gyms. There's so many gyms in Las Vegas. A lot of people
Right.
holding camps, and usually those top fighters are at the gym at the time of
Yeah,
this
that's smart.
show.
Yeah, that's smart, and that gives you an opportunity to get some more of those interviews. That's smart. I'm with that. I like that idea. And then, obviously, if he's not at the gym, he need to be on the show. So that's smart. Creating more content,
Yeah,
getting
so
out there
he gonna
exploring.
do the
And
morning
Ness,
shift,
let
and
me
then
ask
he'll
you
be in the
something.
gym.
I always ask this, but after what happened last Saturday, it might be all about timing. But you think we could reach out to Earl Spence?
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
All
You
right, I just
you ain't.
wanted to throw that
I'm
out
just
there.
saying. I'm just saying. You gotta send him Bible
Huh?
verses. You ain't see that he stopped shaking. He ain't shake Roy hand because Roy picked against him before the fight even happened. He ain't shake Roy hand. You better go watch them
Yeah, but
interviews.
an
What I'm
ass
what
whooping a humble a man. George
I but
Foreman found God after that ass whooping. So
all I'm saying
you know,
is bruh, I'm not nowhere near on his mind like a Roy would be.
no,
And
for sure, for
you know what
sure,
I mean?
for sure,
If he
for
ain't
sure. But
forgive if
you
he
could
ain't
always send them well wishes. You just never know what happens. The ass whooping to change a man. It'll humble him too. Trust me.
mm-mm.
Mom gave me plenty of them.
That's you. That's you. You
To the
wishing that
topics of the
happened.
show. I said this in the past. I'm gonna say it again. I feel like Earl and Bud didn't do over 1 million because of Earl Spence's performance, and I agree with Brandon that it's probably gonna do under 3 because of his past performance. So he literally has to beat Bud to force a trilogy for that fight to potentially do over 1 million. So he's gonna affect the ratings in 2 fights because of his performance, even if he wins this next fight, which is highly, 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 highly impossible. Um, but that's my take. Now let me ask you something. As you talking about Tank can only fight Crawford to get the 40 million, why are you selling that to the people?
I'm sorry. Who you think gonna do 1.2 million pay-per-views with?
So he got to do 1.2
Do
million
it feel like
pay-per-views
it's
to
your
make
time,
40 million?
I
but
mean,
it's not your time.
again, how you gonna give him 40 million? Like, what's the
It's I,
split gonna be? Like, if he fight Devin, right, and they do the
mhm.
1.2, the split. Bill made it clear he want the same deal Ryan got, except the hydration and all the bullshit.
And that's smart. And I'm glad you actually mentioned Bill because it's not that. I do think with Terrence he can make money, but it's all about what you negotiate. Like he may not be guaranteed 40 million versus a Devin, but he could probably get higher than what he's
Well,
normally
he wasn't
guaranteed.
guaranteed that shit with Ryan either. It's because the pay-per-view numbers.
Yeah, and I'm with that. So you make what you weigh, you eat what you kill. And I think
But
Tank is
that's what
building up
I'm
a strong enough
saying.
name that they can at least do 350.
But that's what
We
I'm.
know three.
But 350 ain't. Come on, bro. 350 ain't $40 million.
But what did EJ and Bud get for three? Well, they did 6. All right, so if he did 350, I was looking at
Bro.
what Canelo
But this
did.
what I'm saying.
He
Listen
did
to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. You're not understanding, all right? Put yourself in Tank shoes. I fought the weakest link and made $40 million. Bud
right.
fought Bud fought the toughest fight of his entire career and made 20 something million.
Okay.
I made 40 something million. Ryan took a chance to face the biggest puncher in the division. He made 30 something million.
And I'm with you, but to ask Tank to move up 2 division, it's got to come with more than 40 million. That to me is at least 60, 70. We talking about two divisions
I just
versus the
don't.
number one pound for pound, 2 times undisputed. You only want to give me 40 fucking million dollars?
Champ,
That
champ.
don't add up.
I'm not saying you gonna make 40, only 40. I said that's the only fight I could see him getting that type of money, bro. Like
Somebody mentioned T.O. I think T.O.'s a good one. I think he could get about
T.O.,
20,
listen,
25 guaranteed
T.O.
and 20 on the back
T.O.
end.
never been on pay per view.
So,
He, what you
was
mean,
Ryan on pay-per-view before?
bro? Ryan was a star. You know that.
But
Like, come on, man.
T.O. got
Ryan, like,
credentials
like,
and he
like,
coming
bruh,
with a
bruh,
country.
bruh, bruh. The fact that y'all
And
still
you know T.O.
underestimating
just came off a
Ryan.
big win.
All right, man. I mean, you want to dream, man. I'm just going based off economics, man.
No, I'm with you on economics. I'm not disputing that Crawford won't do that, but I'm just saying Crawford isn't his only option. Like part of the thing is Tank has his own established name.
Yeah, bro.
Like
Listen to
that's
me.
the
Listen to me. I did the math right earlier. I
Mhm.
think I think
Mhm.
I think 350,000 pay-per-views for Tank at 80 was like 28 million dollars, right?
Okay.
So out of that, right, you got to give whoever he fighting some money. So
Mhm.
Let's say Isaac Cruz, they blessed him, which they not. They not giving
Right.
him 3 million. But for easy math, we gonna say three. But they not giving him 3 million. You know. Then Tank, let's say they guaranteed him 5 million up front, and then he gets all his back end money, and the promoters and everybody split. Plus he got his gate. Like that's what he's gonna be making, and yeah, he'll be comfortable with that. But to make 40 million again, he gonna have to fight a Crawford or
I don't
somebody that's
know.
gonna take him over the top. And that's
Crawford.
listen to me. That's me wishfully being hopeful that
No,
because
you're
he
you're
fought
you're right with
Ryan,
you're right with your logic, but to me, just the logistics of it, like I think if you're gonna force him to move up 2 divisions, it's got to come with more than that. But I do understand what you're saying,
bro. But
far as
but
because
you
I'm the
keep
same
you keep
way, and most
prefacing,
people in white collar will tell you once you make 60K, you don't go down to 55. Once you make 75, you don't go down to 60, even if you're 100% remote work. So I get you there, but it's also about what you negotiate. You may not get 75,000 K
yeah,
salary,
but
but you may get a
bro,
package
but
worth 75,
champ,
dental, medical.
champ, you keep making it about the $40 million number. Remember that you can't get to 40 without doing the 1.2. So it's not about 40 million. Stop capping them. I'm just saying to get to the level of a $40 million paycheck again, you're gonna need a super fight.
And I guess that too, I need to be educated because Canelo did 1.3 and that generated 110.
Yeah, everybody got concessions and ticket sales and all the pay-per-view price, everything is different. Everything is different for everybody.
Or maybe you saying 1.2, it probably generates that amount, but he takes home 40 out of that.
Bro, they 1.2 generated over 100 million.
Okay, so yeah, he takes home 40 out of that 100 million.
Yeah, and Ryan took
I think I
30.
think I think him and Tio can get over a million. If we
I
talking
again,
views, I think
maybe
him and Tio
maybe
can do a
maybe
million views.
maybe
I
with a
think him and Anyway could do over 650 views.
man, you tripping hardcore, man. What the fuck?
Ness, I mean, come on, man. It's about
Bro,
timing. It's
yo,
about how you
champ,
sell
champ,
it.
champ,
Like
champ.
Anyway, come with a whole country.
Champ, how many Japanese people live here in America? That's what you gotta first Google, and then we gonna have to take a percentage out of that to hope that they boxing fans and they want to buy a U.S. pay-per-view because
Absolutely, you're right. That's
Tank
one
not
way
going to
to
Japan.
factor in the numbers, but
Tank
also,
not going
right,
to
we're not
Japan.
even talking about gate. Um, and who's to say he got to do it in the U.S.? Even though Floyd said for him to
Man, you
come here, they
sound
could always
crazy,
explore
man.
that option. But
You sound
anyway, in
crazy,
the
man.
U.S.,
You sound crazy right now. So now you think Tank gonna fight a puncher in Japan,
no, I just
and he
said
the
that
B
that could be an
side.
option. But we could stick to the U.S. We
Man,
could stick
Tank
to
is the A
specifically the
side,
U.S.
man.
since
Tank
that's
is
what
the A
Floyd said,
side.
and I still think they could do over 650 pay-per-view buys. What? So people in Japan can't buy the U.S. pay-per-view?
No, no, they can't. If you didn't know, they can't. They buy the Japanese version, and that's why you get an international check. You get an international pay per view. That with a guy like him, you gonna get a Japanese pay per view check. Just like if he fight a dude from the UK, but he fight him in America, they'll sell it in America on pay per view. They'll sell it in the UK on pay per view. He'll get a pay per view check. But those
So,
numbers is not added. That we ain't
and
talking global.
that's
We ain't
BS because
talking
the money
global.
is added.
We ain't
The money
no.
is
But listen
added,
to me.
but
Listen to me.
that's fine.
No,
I think that's weak because they count the
listen,
money.
brother. They do add it. Listen to what I'm saying. When the reporters in boxing report numbers, they don't report global. They do that for
Right.
Jake Paul. When Jake Paul said I did 850, he talking about 850 globally. But remember that nowhere in the whole country is the cost of pay per view as expensive as in America.
Every
So
everything is here.
so
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 so it's
nowhere
either
nowhere
US
else
X
matters.
amount of buys or you're looking for 110,000 plus threshold and revenue generated. So if it's the mark is 110, I think him and Inoue can generate that with the gate and pay-per-view buys across two different countries.
You bumped your head, man.
Okay. We
Brother,
did also didn't
brother,
expect
listen to
Bud
me.
to
Listen to
whitewash
me.
Earl,
Listen
but
to
look
me.
what happened. Like
Listen to
anything
me.
is possible.
No, it
We
ain't.
talking about
No,
Tank.
it ain't. No, it ain't.
Tank is a
No, it ain't.
figure. Inoue is a
You,
figure.
my
Like,
man, my
and
man.
Inoue is
You
a
talking about
damn near a legend in
Japanese?
his country.
You talking about Japanese people coming to America out of nowhere and buying ticket prices? The cost of the fucking YouTube influencers, creators, lifestyle of the rich and famous friends that Ryan had. Ryan was the first boxer to be doing a regular television commercial for GMC. I gotta go. I gave you like a half hour. You tripping hardcore. You need to rethink this whole thing. Ryan
Okay.
is not fucking Inoue. Inoue is not Ryan. I don't give a fuck what I don't know about him until he proved that he could. my man said, my man said Inoue could bring the money that Ryan. I ain't never heard nobody say that. You might be the first one. I hope so. I hope so so we could get another big fight. But I gotta go, champ. That was the last caller. My name is Ness GTO. But I do got these super chats. We last up on Matt Bent. We got the J Swift. Yes. Matt Bent back with a $5. He says, second dose. Andre gives David the fight of his life. Devin better not duck Regis. Tank, glove emoji, Messiah. Yeah, we out tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Peace.